We're going to have a good time on this episode of the Jim Master Show Live, Entertainment Lifestyle Celebrity Talk Show series. As acclaimed singer, songwriter, author extraordinaire, and music lover and aficionado, the one and only legendary Paul Zollo is joining us right here, right now, live on the Jim Masters Show Live. How's everybody doing? So cool to have you here. Welcome to JMS Levity Hall. This is the home to the art of conversation, bringing it back in style with all of you. Thanks for all the comments, the love, the support, everything you guys are doing to get the word out about our extraordinary series, the Jim Master Show Live, where we have been bringing back that lost art of conversation in style with guests coming in from all walks of life, celebrity friends, and so much more from coast to coast and around the world with our international audience. Folks coming in from Hollywood, music, television, film, stage, Broadway, culinary arts, sports, comedy, inspiration, health and wellness, science and nature, life in general. It's so great to have you here. I hope you guys are having a good day. If you're not, there's going to be live music, and a great conversation and updates on some of the cool things that our very special guest, Paul Zollo, has been working on. He is a big supporter and lover, and he's very passionate about the Jim Masters Show Live series. This is his return visit. If you didn't see that epic conversation we had the first time, well, it is archived on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. As a matter of fact, if you would like to interact with us right now while the show is live, you can do that by subscribing to the YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. And you can comment right now, which many are already doing. They're already subscribers in the JMS Levity Hall, which is a chat room we have created for all of you to connect with each other and connect with us here at JMS, the Jim Masters Show Live. I just cannot believe I was telling Paul seconds ago that since he was on last time, we are just shy. I think we're like 4 shows away from 1,000 episodes of the Jim Masters Show Live series in just 3.5 years. And that is a lot of levity and a lot of great conversations and so much more. And we're going to have one right now. So we welcome you and everybody watching all around the world to the Jim Masters Show Live series. Again, as I said, acclaimed singer, songwriter, author Paul Zollo is here. He's a beloved figure in the world of music. He celebrates music. He has had opportunities to work with some of the greats, Bob Dylan, Tom Petty, Ringo Starr. He has celebrated as well. He's an acclaimed songwriter, singer, recording artist, and author of many books. He's a photographer, music journalist, and he's presently senior editor of American Songwriter magazine. He has written several books, Songwriters on Songwriting and More Songwriters on Songwriting, Conversations with Tom Petty, Expanded Edition, and Hollywood Remembered, leader of the band, the Ghosters, with whom he made one self-titled album of his original songs in 1984 and 2 solo albums too, Orange Avenue and Universal Cure. He's also written songs with many songwriters and artists like Darryl Purpose and Steve Allen, Dan Bern, Bob Malone, Steve Kalinich. Steve Kalinich has been a guest on our show. Bob Malone has been on our show. And Darryl Purpose has been here. A lot of greats. He was the editor also of Song Talk magazine for many years and went on to become senior editor of American Songwriter magazine, managing editor of Performing Songwriter magazine. He has also contributed articles to many magazines, including Variety, Billboard, Rolling Stone, Musician, Oxford Press, Playback, Gorgeous, Boulevard Music, Connection, and Campus Circle. His father, Bert Zollo, also a writer and the author of 3 books, which is really incredible. Prisoners, a novel, and State and Whacker, a novel, and many magazine essays and articles. A former colleague of Hugh Hefner of Esquire magazine, and he contributed the first issues of Playboy magazine, including the inaugural Marilyn Monroe issue under the pseudonym Bob Norman. Yes, that answer has been solved. If you've ever been questioning that and thinking about that as well, again, he's an we're talking about that's Bert, of course, his dad. We're talking now about the son. Yes, we're talking about Paul Zollo. He's extraordinary. We were just doing a little sound check there to make sure the audio was good and everything. So thanks for sticking in there and sticking with us, folks, here on the Jim Masters Show Live series. But without further ado, we like to jump right in. If you'd like to comment, like, subscribe, all the rest, please do. Helps us grow. We thank and thank and thank the thousands who have done that. Continue to do that as well. But without further ado, let's welcome live and direct from Greater Los Angeles, California, our extraordinary guest, a big fan of our show. And again, he's coming back. This is his return visit to the Jim Masters Show Live series. The one and only Paul Zollo is here.
Yeah.
Paul, welcome back
Jim.
to the show. How are you?
Very good. So nice to be back. This is an honor. It was an honor to be invited once, but it's like if you're a comic and Johnny Carson says he wants you back. It's a happy day. So thanks for having me back. It was so much fun last time.
Oh, we had so much fun. It's right. I just got to thank you personally because you have been so passionate, so vocal, so supportive of what we're doing here, bringing back in a warm, fun, free-flowing conversational style with class and polish, but yet warmth and affability and approachability, the Jim Masters Show experience. And you've been on and we've had epic conversations. We've had interactions and conversations even when you're not on. And you've also been so gracious in recommending the show to so many greats and so many others in the industries. I thank you personally live on air for doing that, Paul.
Well, it's been my pleasure. And it's nice for my friends who are, some of them tremendously talented, as you know, and they need some attention. They need somebody to pay attention to all the great work they're doing. Even very established songwriters who've been doing it for a long time, if they haven't had any attention for 3 years, they seem, it happened to me, So it's always not one of them has said, oh man, why'd you make me do that? And it's like, oh, that was great because you're so great at what you do and you make it fun. And also the Loverties. I mean, that you have a global audience is remarkable. We really tune in live. They're still with us. I'm assuming.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. They are. And they come from all around the world and they are just so faithful and supportive. Some we see, in comments, many, many, many more just privately contact us. So they watch, quietly, however it is, however people watch, we just love and adore them. And you as well, Paul. How have you been since we chatted last, my friend?
I've been good. Life has gotten better. When we first spoke, that was pretty soon after lockdown. And I went through a divorce and then I lived in an apartment near my son where he was going to college. And since then, I had just moved when we first did the show. And that was a happy time. I was just starting and I'm still here. I'm in Beverly Glen, which is in Los Angeles. There was a typo in California, by the way. It's okay if you don't live here. I don't expect. Actually, a lot of people here don't spell it correctly either, but. See, that's me. I'm an editor. I'm a nerd when it comes to stuff like that. I lost you completely now. You still there?
That's a good catch in there.
I'm sorry. I always do that. The way I got my job, my first job was Song Talk magazine. The previous editor had put Barbara Streisand on the front page and spelled her name wrong. The Barbara and the Streisand.
California. See, now
there you go. That's how you should pronounce it too.
Yeah. I think
what a nerdy thing to do to mention it.
Overworked here at the Jim Masters Show Live.
It can't be true. I've heard have you done 1,000 shows? Can that really be true?
We are just shy of that, about 4 episodes. Yeah,
man, that's amazing.
I think before we had it spelled California.
That works too. That's what you need, someone to come on and start proofing you. Yeah, you got Masters spelled perfectly. I see.
Well, of course, we'll never foul that up. And Jim is just JIM.
I used to actually go around town. It shows you what a nerd I am. And I go into like a deli, and they would spell cabbage wrong. It'd be spelled with a G, like on the blackboard.
Oh my God!
And I said, "I'm sorry, that should be a C." They go, "No, it's cabbage. What are you talking about? It's cabbage." No, it's with a C. So it's pretty annoying.
So you've been doing well, and again, a lot of life changes, of course, as well, which of course makes sense. And we were in the thick of some crazy stuff going on globally. There's always crazy stuff going on globally, but we've gotten through it for so far the best that we could. And you fared okay through everything.
Yeah, it's been a very gradual transition because there are a lot of venues in town that I played and my friends played, and some quite small and enclosed, as you might recall, indoors. And even after the lockdown was over, they had trouble with business. Some of them closed because people just didn't want to sit inside, too long with other humans. But gradually, we lost some good clubs, but it's so wonderful to go out and you could hug people again or shake hands. It was a strange time. And my son's doing very good. He works for Tom Segura, the great comedian, and they have a wonderful podcast, a series of them. And Josh, my son, started as an intern when he was in college, and he graduated, and he's the producer now. The terrible part of that, though, is that they moved to Austin. They were doing it here in Los Angeles, where they should still be, really. But Joe Rogan and all those guys moved to Austin, Texas, including my son. And he said, "Dad, you can move to Texas, but I like it here." But that's the only rough part of this present time. But he visits often. He has a wonderful girlfriend who I think is going to be my daughter-in-law soon. I'm hoping. She's great, and they love each other. So, but he's doing really well. He's got a wonderful job, and he loves it.
That's
and oddly, just to mention, because there was his name is Joshua Zollo, but since there was already a Joshua, for some reason they started calling him Baby Zollo. I think that's the host, the wife Christina, who's a comedian too, said, I think he's smarter than any of us, and he's a baby, and now he's Baby Zollo. That's his name.
Baby Zollo, huh?
I mean, I called him that, but he was a baby when I called him that.
BZ for short.
Indeed.
So what have you been working on project and musically wise since we chatted last?
Yeah, go right to the sun like a proud parent.
I've been should, and the Father and the Holy Ghost.
Well, you know me, I don't go to them. I mean, go to the Father, of course. I'm interested in that Holy Ghost. I would like to interview him. Have you talked to him? You get pretty much everyone.
I only talk to him when he's available, which is usually Sundays afternoon.
He doesn't do a lot of podcasts.
I get him on Sunday mornings, kind of busy.
That's sacrilegious. I don't want to get you thrown off the interweb.
Get him off I usually get him a hold of him after the Sunday brunch.
He's in American Pie, the song. It's a good setup for other words. But I've been doing a lot of songwriting. In fact, the one correction I should make is I'm no longer with American Songwriter magazine. I was with them for maybe 20 years almost. And
at least 20 years.
And I've wrote more than 1,000 stories that are online right now. They're still there. But we parted ways.
Last, yeah.
And they got bought by a guy who had a slightly different attitude about what a songwriting magazine should be. I really think anyone past, under their 70s, I'm not sure if they're going to be good enough. So, they want young, they want youth, but they're doing a good job. But I've mostly been working on book projects and a lot of songwriting and recording. I'm working on 2 albums and some other projects, and I'm trying to finish. I have several book projects I'm trying to finish, including one with Henry Diltz, who's a legendary photographer. He took the covers of so many albums, including Crosby, Stills, and Nash, though they're seated in the wrong order. That's another story in itself. And Morrison Hotel, with the Doors. And so he has a gallery here in Los Angeles and in New York called Morrison Hotel. And Henry is still a hippie, but he's in his 80s, like all those guys. He's in his 80s. And we've been working on his book for a long time, so I have to finish that. Mm-hmm. And I have other book projects I'm working on.
That's so cool, huh? So how much do you like the writing and telling of the stories versus being the actual performer?
Well, this is a subject you probably understand well because you do both. And in some ways, when you're a performer, you're the interviewer as well. And but I never wanted to be a journalist, and my father wouldn't even consider, if you're writing about music, he would say, you're not a journalist. If you're writing about war, you're a music writer, but my allegiance has always been to musicians and songwriters, not to journalism. So several journalists that I know, and I'm friends with a lot of great music writers, and a lot of the other ones too are friends, but I don't ever, I review albums or when they had albums, or I review stuff as well as writing about it. And I don't do bad reviews. If I don't like something, I won't write about it. And a lot of reviewers think, well, then what's the point?
Right.
So I don't consider, and also, but I'm still I perform and I record, and that disqualifies you in a lot of people's eyes. You can't do both, especially if you're on a circuit with all these people. Then you probably like them, the other musicians. But that's actually been my key to being a good interviewer, because I love music and I love songwriting, and I have so much reverence, a genuine reverence and just obsession with great songwriting and how they did it, and like a lot of songwriters, I do what I call reverse engineering. Actually, Rob Seals, who started the Songwriting School of LA and still runs it, that was his term. You reverse engineer a song, you find out what the chords are, which is the inner architecture that you hang the melody on. Because songs aren't just words, and often when songwriters are interviewed, they talk about the lyrics. So what was that about? Was that about your last boyfriend, or whatever they ask? But songwriters are often, a lot of them, geniuses with music. But rarely, unless they talk to you or someone really good, do they get to talk about the music itself. And I'm a nerd for music, kind of like I'm with proofing stuff. I'm nerdy that way. And but they love that. And some of them, like Paul Simon, he just had this look at, finally, yes, the bridge to Still Crazy After All. Finally, I could explain it, because he would say a little bit of it when I was growing up. Like Rolling Stone would interview Paul Simon or Bob Dylan, Joni Mitchell, my idols. And they would ask one or two questions about the writing. And to me, that was just golden. I just always I wish I could ask a follow-up. And years ago on Dick Cavett, in fact, Paul Simon went on and talked about writing Still Crazy After All these years and showed it. I was like, oh my God. To me, that was my dream, to just be with him. How did you do that? So that's what kind of inspired me to go into that. It was a way to support myself to be a songwriter. Though when I started, you could actually make a fairly good living, you get a great living as a songwriter if you're successful. It's harder now, but it clicked, because the songwriters they're flattered and they're relieved. I mean, they have someone like you two who listens, for one thing, but that knows their song. So even when I talked to Bob Dylan and I mentioned B minor, suddenly, oh, B minor, you straight an A minor. You get in the nuts and bolts of the thing. That's where they live. And so my allegiance was always to songwriting. And part of the thing I was doing was to show the world, this is how you're supposed to interview songwriters, with reverence. Because, we've lost so many great songwriters, like John Prine recently, who was who I knew really well. I was close to him for years. And I grew up in Chicago. I've known him my whole life. And he was just I would aspire to be, and also one of the funniest, sweetest, most gentle people there was. But for years, he wasn't well known. He was known in Chicago, and people started doing his songs. But then he died in 2020, and I was kind of amazed at how much love there is for John Prine. But I talked to him at length. So the day after he died, the New York Times, they're a pretty big newspaper. They're quoting mine, and Rolling Stone too. And they've done that many times. Or on Wikipedia, when they write about a song now, they'll quote my work, and it's because I wanted the real stories. It was for me as well. But I think they won the trust of a lot of songwriters, because, as you know, musicians, performers in general, they're not always comfortable. They're not sure if the interviewer's out to get them, if this is going to be tough, especially in England. They're tougher in Britain, as you might know.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I've had some British people say, what? Why did you review it so nicely? Did somebody pay you? You just did that? No one paid. They can't believe it when you're kind. But, I found, I tried to get an interview with Dylan forever, and I didn't think I'd ever get one. He hadn't given any in years. And finally, just out of nowhere, I got one. And I found out why. He goes, yeah, you and Paul Simon talked a lot, didn't you? He read that, and he saw, this is a guy that's really getting into it. So because I love songwriting so much, it's really inspired the interviews, because I have genuine love.
Experience like with Dylan?
There's the guy. He was a little older then, but he has that nose still, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to make fun of his nose, but as you know, when you meet famous people, some of them look less impressive in person, and others look maybe ordinary. Others look like, oh my God, it's him. And I felt that with Bob Dylan more than anyone, maybe because I'm obsessed over him, and along with Simon and a few other songwriters. But he's so him. I mean, there's no question who it is. And right away he was laughing, and it was a thrill to get to interview him.
You've had to really work with and collaborate with and even write about so many extraordinary people too. And
but I'm sorry. Don't mean to interrupt you, because I want to talk about Tom. But in terms of Dylan, he was so important to the art, the arc, the evolution of songwriting. Without Dylan, I mean, he said, no, someone else would have done it. But, it was because of Dylan that John Lennon said he heard Dylan. He goes, well, I didn't know you could put like poetry and your real ideas and thoughts into a song. And then he wrote the song Help, which was, as he said, an authentic cry for help. And I always thought, if I could get Bob Dylan, I mean, because, and this was my first question to Arlo Guthrie, he said, songwriting is like fishing in a stream. And no one downstream from Bob Dylan ever caught anything. In regard to just how much he wrote, and in every style, and even the great geniuses of songwriting, Leonard Cohen, Paul Simon, Joni, they're all just, I mean, it's amazing what he's done. And And so to get to talk to him was a huge honor. I was a little nervous, but I started with that because you know what it's like when you're talking to a legend. But where do you start? You know, and so I mentioned that Earl Guthrie said that no one downstream from Dylan ever caught anything, and he laughed a lot. And then I said, so how'd you catch so many? And then he kind of had that look of, oh, and then he goes, it's the bait. He said, it's the bait you use. And I go, okay, well, what kind of bait were you using? And then it just opened up, and we just had a remarkable conversation. And I just felt so high afterwards. I felt that way after talking to Leonard Cohen too. I felt like I was elevating, you know, like I was flying. It's just it was an amazing feeling. The only hard part was that it had to end. You know, I wanted it to go on forever.
That's always the endings of any kind sometimes are very tough. So you have to sort of find ways to just wrap, sort of like, we don't even say goodbye here at this show. We say, see you later. You know, leave that door open for an opportunity to have a return visit or return conversation or dig in a little deeper or whatever it may be. And
you're good at that, but you also give people a lot of time to talk. You have time, and it's so they don't feel like they're getting cut off early. I don't think, unless you've done that. Have you ever cut out 10 minutes? That's it. We're done here.
No.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think we've had any guests for just 10 minutes. Maybe 45 minutes, roughly. But
Yeah.
there's been some who've wanted to be on our show, and they've had so much to say, or it's just flowing so beautifully that they've been on for hours at their, you know, choice. So we never say how long you have to be on the show.
No, I see that. You go, you have more time. It's like, dude, I'm here all day. You know, if you got time, I'm here. I don't want to go anywhere.
We've it's evening now here in the East, so we've already done our day's work, and now we're here and having a good time. Exactly. Tom Petty, of course, near and dear to your heart. Tell us about the whole conversation and everything involving Tom Petty with you, Paul.
Well, I love Tom, and it just makes me sad to see that. It makes me happy too. But you know, of all these guys, I didn't expect Tom to be gone before them. They're quite a bit older than him. He was a really sweet guy, and he has an amazing, expanding, remarkable fan network. I once said they're kind of like the Deadheads, but not tripping all the time. But I mean, they're like Deadheads in their devotion. It's beautiful too. And Tom really liked that I wanted to talk about his songwriting. Tom Petty, like, you know, is a rock star, and he became an American cultural figure. I was kind of amazed, but you could go and see him, you know, sitting down on the couch with, you know, Letterman or Jay Leno and make jokes. He was part of America. You know, he was in movies as himself. But he was a genuine guy, and his whole thing was about purity. He loved in the early rock and roll. It was real. So he had a great band with amazing musicians, some of the best musicians ever, Ben Montench on keyboards, Mike Campbell on guitar. It doesn't get better, but they were like the Stones. They recorded everything together. It was authentic rock and roll. And Tom wrote the songs. And Tom, you know, I think because he was so easygoing and such a sweet guy, and people just thought, he's not a genius, maybe. It probably comes easy to him. Like, how long did You Wreck Me come? But he was diligent. He'd work all the time. He knew he had to write 10 great songs a year, and he did. And so that was, I think, a big part of our connection. I first interviewed him. I was with Performing Songwriter magazine, and his album Wildflowers came out. And they sent me back, it was so long ago, I got cassettes. Remember cassettes? It said you advance.
Boxes
and,
of
yeah. And I would ride my bike in Griffith Park and listen to it. And I just remember going, oh, my God. I mean, it's the double album already. And then I found out later he cut out a lot. But he was, after writing, he did Full Moon Fever, you know, which had Free Fallin', which was an enormous hit. To come up with Wildflowers, it's so unusual, as you well know. You know, the Beatles had 10 years. That's usually it. And people start, I mean, they broke up. But it's unusual for people to sustain that passion for over 10 years. He did it for 40 years. And he really, you know, his last album was great. It truly was. And so I was just blessed to get to know him. So I interviewed him several times. It was always fun. The second time, I didn't talk about this back in the day because it was still illegal, but Tom had a fondness for marijuana. It's not a big secret, but I happened to have had a marijuana joint with me at the time. I said, "You want to smoke?" So we went out after our second interview and smoked just a little bit. And then he just started telling me stories about him the first time he met Elvis. And he's like my older brother's age, so I kind of felt like a big brother to me. Such a sweet guy. And I had an idea for doing a whole book of conversations, and it was really Paul Simon's idea. He wanted to do conversations with Paul Simon. We were talking about it, and then he kind of maybe some other time. And I thought, but I wanted to do it, so maybe Tom would go for it. And so I brought it to Mary Clauser, who was great, and she called back. Tom's interested, and that led to us doing a whole book. So I got to go to his place in Malibu for pretty much every Saturday for more than 2 years, and it was a joy. And he was so sweet. Because since then I've worked with other people on books, including Dave Stewart of Eurythmics, and he's great. But Tom made it easy, and he made it fun. We never did more than 2 hours usually or so, and we never started past noon because he didn't get up till then. And also he was a pro. I'll just say this because I would come in doing my homework, and I would know the songs musically as well, which appealed to him. I remember I said, I learn all your songs so I can play them. And he goes, oh, you learn all the songs. I can see he learns all the songs. Because people don't realize the genius that goes into making it sound that great with the rock and roll chords. There's only so many. And he was a genius at that. He made it seem easy. That's a big part of the genius. But so I would come in knowing the songs, and after about the second session, he says, do me a favor, Paul. Let me know from now on in advance which songs you want to talk about, because I'll do my homework too, so I'm more, well-versed on the songs as you are. Because prior to that, yeah, he told me he hated listening to his old music because it just brought up sad memories often, or it wasn't perfect. And then he married Dana, who is his second wife, who is just an angel. I mean, she's just a sweet, wonderful woman, and just changed his life. I mean, they were so in love with each other. And she started playing one of his albums. And he said, I'm sorry, we don't listen to that here. And she said, oh, I'm sorry, I'm a huge Tom Petty fan. This is what I like to listen to. Deal with it. And so it's true. And so he told me, so I listened to it, Paul, and you know what? It wasn't that bad. It's like, really? Wasn't it? I mean, we love these albums, but that just shows what it's like. But then he kind of had a reappreciation of his own music, and it was healthy for him because he went through a tough time. He got divorced. He was very sad for a while there. But the Dana period when I was with him, he was very happy. And so the last, I think, 20 years of his life, he was very happy. So that's a long answer, but he asked me about Tom, and I'm going to Gainesville for his birthday, as I do every year. I just sit alone in the park with a birthday cake. No, actually, they have a wonderful celebration, Tom Petty Birthday Festival in Gainesville, his hometown, around his birthday, which is October 20th. So I believe it starts on the 19th this year. And they not only let me come and talk about him, which, as you can see, I love to do, but play his songs too, which is fun. So that's in Gainesville, Florida. But there's alligators there too, so it's dangerous.
There's alligators there. Yeah.
So thank you.
A few here and there, right?
There actually are. I was talking to guys like, yeah, if you swim in any one of these little swimming pools, there's always gators. And I go, so you go in anyway, though? Because I wouldn't. Dude, you got to swim, right? No. Not if there's an alligator. No.
No can do. Yeah, but you've worked in the music business.
Exactly. Yeah. I know a lot of crocodile. I know them well, but
sharks.
there was one, to get back to Tom, a funny alligator. So what's weird? His dad was such a hard guy and really a tough guy, and hard for Tom, like a real macho guy who didn't like that Tom had long hair. And until Tom got famous, then he loved it. He became Tom Petty's dad. But Tom said they'd go out on the rowboat fishing, which Tom hated, or they go hunting. But they were on the rowboat, and an alligator came up to the boat, and his father, just to show Tom that he was a hard, tough guy, he took his thumb and forefinger and put it right in the alligator's eyes, causing the alligator to go under. And Tom, when he told me that, he repeated it. He never did. He goes, he took his thumb and his foot, but they're even still can you? And no one's ever told me that story. I grew up in Chicago, but and he also was known to take a rattlesnake and spin it and break its neck.
Wow.
So that's the kind of guy Tom's dad was.
You just basically put your thumb in a deep dish pizza, right?
That's right. It's too hot. That's dangerous. You could slip on the ice. There is danger there.
Absolutely. Right. Exactly. Rooting for the Cubs also might be a little rough.
But Wrigley Field's a beautiful place. I like going there.
It is fantastic. Well, I'm a Mets fan, so I know the story. I know the sensation.
A Mets fan. Because the Mets are way better than the Yankees, wouldn't you say? One of my best friends is from New York. That's like sacrilege to say that, you know?
Or yeah,
As you know.
Yankees and Red Sox is a whole other thing too. Absolutely.
My friend would wear his Yankees outfit, like in a hat and stuff, to a Dodgers game here. I said, it's probably not really smart, you know, don't do that.
No, not too good. Giants and Philadelphia, same thing.
We'd go see the Cubs. They never won, but it was fun to go there.
But they're great team, great American team, absolutely.
Somebody. When I was in, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I went to school in Boston, and I got a job as a pretzel vendor on the street because I was aiming high, you know. But it was a fun job because I got to sit outside and just do it when I wanted, and I would sell outside of Fenway Park where the Red Sox played.
With the accent too.
Pardon me.
Pretzel here. Pretzel.
Yeah, you know it. You cannot possibly do that in Boston without that accent. Yeah, get your pretzels here. You have to get your pretzels here. Pretzels. And I did 20 games. They didn't win one. And while the Red Sox fans would be going in, they'd be in a great mood. You know, they'd buy a lot of pretzels. But by the sixth inning, they'd be coming out. And I go, fuck you, pretzel boy. You know, they'd take it out on me. It got dangerous there.
That's not your fault. You're just selling pretzels.
That's what I tried to. It's not my fault.
Yeah.
If you had a better team, they could maybe win once. It's not my fault they suck. No, they don't want me to. I have good friends from Boston, too. They don't find that fun. I even wrote a song called Funeral March from Fenway Park. He hated that song.
Wow.
It's like, Paulie, don't ever sing that song. No one wants to hear you sing that
They
song.
always sing Sweet Caroline, Neil Diamond's song. Yeah.
You know your stuff, dude.
That's big there. Yeah.
Now people do concerts in Fenway. You know, Tom Petty played Fenway, played Wrigley. That's amazing to me. They didn't do that when we were going to play concerts in baseball stadiums.
Not at all. And then, of course, there's Ringo Starr. Let's talk about Ringo and your involvement with Ringo.
I don't know if guys know about him. He was the drummer in the Beatles.
Right.
You know, that picture, he's probably 80 in that picture.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I lost
in case anybody was born last year, he was with the Beatles.
I know a lot of people are very young or from other countries here, and they don't know a lot of people that I think they should know, but they know the Beatles.
Yeah.
But Ringo, I mean, he's in his 80s now, and he still looks great, doesn't he?
Absolutely. Yeah.
He's got a wonderful wife who's been married to Barbara Bach for a long time, and she always calls him Richie. That's his real name, Richard Starkey. Richie. But I don't know Ringo well. We don't hang out, though. I think we should because I really like him. He lives close, though. But I got to know Ringo through a wonderful publicist who worked for him and also represents Paul Simon and other people I love. Elizabeth Freund. And Elizabeth, like me, is an old hippie. I mean, she's not young anymore, but she's still a hippie, and she's got a good heart. And so I got invited. Ringo used to, on his birthday every year, which is July 7th, do a big birthday party in Hollywood in front of Capitol Records, which was the Beatles record company, and on the street, so fans could come, and then they'd have a party afterwards downstairs in the famous studio where everyone, including Sinatra used to record down there. So I got invited to that, which was wonderful, you know, getting to be there. And then thanks to Elizabeth, they let me go to the party. And she was so kind. My son was maybe 6 or 7 there, Joshua. Could I bring Josh? And I thought they might not appreciate it. They're not supposed to do that. But she said, yeah. And I did that every year. I would bring Josh. And I get his photo with Ringo. And I remember the first time I brought him, Josh's hair was like out to here, you know. Before, you know, he cared about if chicks like that look, you know. Now he has very stylish hair, of course. But I remember, like, by the 4th time, all he says, like, Dad, get the photo in focus, okay? That's all he cared about. Yeah, got to be in focus, right? But after COVID, they didn't have it, I think, the first year of COVID, and then they started not doing the big one because they didn't want to invite a big, giant crowd. So they started doing it in a park, and I got an invitation, but it asked, don't tell anyone, because they didn't want it to leak, so there was a huge crowd. Yeah. So there was a little crowd that would come, but just people, I guess, that heard it, heard about it. So it was a smaller level, but it was always still the same thing. And the idea was that at noon here, he would give out the message of peace and love, because that was the message of the Beatles, peace and love, and the peace sign. Remember the peace sign? And Ringo's still doing it in bright colors. And he's still spreading that message, and he's still playing music. And as you probably know, he's been playing with the All-Stars. He's just an amazing band of great musicians, and it revolves. And they're all there. Edgar Winters, you know,
Yes.
Steve Lukather from Toto,
Oh yeah.
Ben Montench and Mike Campbell were there last time. But other stars like Fred Armisen was there, you know, from SNL.
Oh yeah.
I love getting to talk to people like that. It was great. You know, they all come, and because you're there, you know, you're all at the party, and my friend Henry Diltz, who I mentioned, is always invited to everything. And in fact, Henry and Ringo are about the same age, and Henry was standing there. It was not this year, but the year before. Ringo saw Henry and goes, "Oh, there's Henry Diltz, still standing." And Henry was like, he's still standing too, you know. But
Good title.
I did get to interview him once, because I asked Elizabeth, I get to come to the party, could I interview him? And because I was doing volume 2 of Songwriters on Songwriting, which is called More Songwriters, and having Ringo is great, and he is the greatest drummer of all time. Some people want to debate me, saying, "No, it's Bonham, dude. Are you kidding, Ringo?" He's the greatest. If anyone argues, they're wrong. Including
Rich.
Okay, rock and roll drummer.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not cutting jazz drummers. That's fair. No, that's fair. But in terms of rock and roll,
God, we would see him on Carson and all the rest. Just
oh yeah,
unbelievable, huh? Unbelievable. Just going on and on and on. And there's, I think, some clips on YouTube where, you know, it's going on forever and it's fantastic. And he's just digging in.
oh yeah, absolutely. Oh no, those guys were amazing. The jazz drummers. I'm not even meaning to count them. I just said that because I have a lot of friends who go, "Ringo, dude, that's not Ringo," you know. But if you listen to "Come Together," that's that drum part, or "Here Comes the Sun," it's amazing. But he's also a sweet guy. But so he's known as a drummer, but he's not known as a songwriter. But he did write "Octopus's Garden." He wrote "Don't Pass Me By," that are Beatles songs, and then he's written a lot of songs since then. So, you know, ostensibly it was about songwriting. So he's in my book. I got to interview him, but it wasn't long enough. I'd like to talk to him just for a few years if I could. There's a lot to talk about.
There really is a lot. Yeah.
He's truly a sweet man, and I get like a moment with him at these birthday parties. Ask one question, and last year I asked him, "So Ringo, you're like 82, and I'm standing there outside with my hat on, glasses. I go, you're 82. How do you look so great?" And he points at me and goes, "It's because I don't wear a hat." That was his answer, and then he moved on.
So he still has the hair because the hat, right?
I don't know how he does. I don't know what Ringo's secret is. I know he's vegan. I mean, so if you have a great chef, that sure makes that easier too. You know, but he keeps in good shape. You know, I always try to keep in shape. You know, but he's very slender.
You wanted to talk also about, of course, John Lennon, Yoko Ono.
Oh, that's a beautiful picture. I think that's the same one I posted, isn't it? But thank you. I mean, yesterday was John's birthday, and I mean, I'm not unusual in loving John Lennon. It was so important. But I graduated college. As I mentioned, I went to Boston University in Boston, and then I went to New York. I had a job working for Woody Guthrie's widow, Marjorie Guthrie. And but the most exciting part about New York, by far from me, was John Lennon lived there right then. And the address was famous. As you know, they lived at the Dakota, 1 West 72nd, right on Central Park West. And I couldn't afford to live in Manhattan, so I lived outside of the city in Jersey, which I hated. But I take the bus into, you know, the 42nd Street, it's like the Reaper Bond, then your Times Square, and then work for Mrs. Guthrie. But then I'd always at lunch walk by the Dakota in Central Park West and walk into the park. But it's beautiful there, as you well know. But it's a spooky building. You know, the Dakotas, you know, they used it for Rosemary's Baby, that movie, that scary movie.
Yeah.
And it's just a spooky gothic movie. But I moved to New York just when his first single in 5 years came out. Starting Over was the name of his single. And it's like, John's making music again. He's got a son. His son Sean with Yoko is 5 years old. And I go by there every day. And within 5 months, to me, the worst tragedy ever, you know, he got shot and killed. And I just remember thinking, God, other people get shot. They don't have to die. But I just remember that it just was so shocking. And with thousands of people, I went there to the Dakota the next day, and it was the saddest thing ever. You know, and we sang his songs, you know, Give Peace a Chance, and Love Is All You Need. But to me, it just felt like New York had done it to him, because he loved New York. And so my girlfriend from college was already in Los Angeles, And she goes, why don't you just come out here, just check it out. And that was then, and I've never wanted to leave, and I've been there ever since. I did have to go back and get my stuff. But Yoko came up with an album then called Season of Glass. And a lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people never liked Yoko. They truly believe she broke up the Beatles, like she's a witch. And somehow I don't know how she had John under the spell, or there's a potion. John Lennon, as people that love him know well, he could make his own choices. No one was telling him what to do. He chose to be with Yoko. A lot of people told him, don't be with Yoko, especially the band, or like, don't be with her while we're recording, okay, John? They don't like that. And I get it. You know, they didn't want her there, but John was so in love, and he just did his own thing. So this idea that Yoko somehow did it, to this day, people really dislike her, and they didn't like her singing, okay, but John loved her, and I just felt she never got the credit she deserved, because she, as John said many times, you know, she didn't just inspire my song, she inspired me. And he didn't give her credit, but the whole idea for Imagine, one of his most famous songs and a classic song, was Yoko's idea. It came from her book, Grapefruit, the idea that you have to imagine peace or imagine love before you'll ever get it. If you can't even imagine it, we'll never get there. It starts with imagining. And John, you know, before he, you know, years after that, but I think it was in the last interview he did, which was for Playboy, he said, yeah, you know, I was a typical guy. You know, I didn't give her credit, but I should have. I really should have given her credit. But she doesn't go on and on about that. But she got such a bad rep as a negative person. And I always thought it was also beautiful. The first thing that drew them together is he went to one of her art shows when she was doing art in London. And the piece was a ladder that led up to something up there. So John climbed the ladder, and he went to look at what it was, and it was a message, and it just said yes. It was a positive message. And John loved that it wasn't something like fuck off or no. It was yes. Her message was always positive, and she did encourage and empower him to be on his own, just by saying, you know, you could be John Lennon. You don't have to be the Beatles, because let's face it, he and Paul were like brothers. And George, too, they knew each other literally since they were kids. You know, they lived together. I mean, when they were in Hamburg, they shared these tiny rooms. They were together a lot. But like any brothers, they grew separately, you know, and but both absolute geniuses. And George, too, geniuses. But John needed to go out on his own, and that was his choice. It wasn't easy for him, but Yoko got the blame. And to this day, she gets such a bad rap. But I interviewed Dylan because of his rep at the time was Elliot Mintz. And Elliot, out of the blue, said to me, so would you be interested in talking to Yoko? And I said, I so hope you mean Ono. You know, you mean Yoko Ono? Yeah. Are you kidding? Yeah, if you want to go there. It's like, I couldn't believe it. And I remember there's a lot going on. So I'm going to talk to Yoko. I just couldn't believe it. But frankly, I was really scared because, you know, I didn't know her. And I had to go to that scary building. And so I was very excited. And I skipped a part. And this is already quite a long story. But I appreciate your greatness in allowing me to tell this story. Before that, as I was trying to say, she came out with a beautiful album called Season of Glass, right in the wake of his death. I mean, she stayed in the building. She was with him when he got shot. And, you know, it was terrible. He fell into the guard station right there and said, I'm shot. And she was there. And they were in love. In fact, she told me, you know, that the night before he died, they were working on her song, Walking on Thin Ice, which is a great song. Rocks. And John played guitar on it. Some of his most unrestrained guitar playing. And she said to me, and I think to other people, you know, he said something in my ear that night, something a husband says to a wife, very intimate. And I just remember thinking, isn't that great? I'm this age and my husband is still saying that kind of stuff to me. I just felt like the luckiest woman in the world. And then the next day. So she made that album, and on the front of the album, she had his actual glasses, which were splattered with blood. And people didn't like that she showed that, but that was what she went through. She told me it was like I was underwater. I just wanted to come up for a breath. You know, she was suffering. But on that album, there was this beautiful poem about the seasons, how each season brings with it a different awakening or a different sense of sorrow or thought. And then it ends with, but there's a season that will never pass, and that is the season of glass. And that's how I felt, because I felt when John Lennon died, the world needs to stop for at least a week, if not a day. We can't just go on. since then, so many of our heroes have died, but because obviously, as you remember, it didn't just mean John was gone, it meant the Beatles are dead. They just killed the Beatles. I mean, if you remember, no, you're a young man, but back then, before then, they would joke about them going on Saturday Night Live together, because Ringo went on. And there was a thing where Lorne Michaels gave Ringo a big check for, no, it wasn't Ringo, I'm sorry. I'm getting this right. It was George. George Harrison went on. Let's get the story right. He went on, played with Paul Simon. They did a beautiful duet on Here Comes the Sun and Homeward Bound. But then there was a scene where Lorne Michaels goes to George with a check for $3,000. It's like, and he says, if you could get the Beatles together, I got this. And he actually said, you can split up any way you want. You don't have to give Ringo as much, whatever you want to do. And there used to be thought like maybe they'll get together. And then we found out later that Paul and John were at the Dakota watching that show. And they thought, wouldn't it be funny if we just went there? And then they thought, let's not do it. So we used to think that was possible. The Beatles could get back together. So it was a terrible thing. So I moved to LA, but that album meant so much to me. I just wrote Yoko a letter and saying, I just want you to know that, we feel what you're going through and we love you and we will always love you. And I wrote my season of Glass was looking through airplane windows, getting away from New York because I couldn't stay. I was too sad. And I wasn't making that up. But also I had a girlfriend here and I was really lonely and I was living in New Jersey. But that winter blew me away. I got a Christmas card from her. And I opened it up. It's a Christmas card of her and Santa Claus and Sean, who was a little boy then. See if I can. You told me I could bring it. I just happen to have it here. Cards, yeah. And let's see if you can. Yeah, can you see that? It's Sean when he was 6 years old. Yoko and that's Santa Claus, and that's right there in their home. And it said, to Paul, love Yoko. 84, that was 1984. And that blew me away, needless to say. But I never thought I'd meet her. Then years later, because Elliot Mentz, I got to go talk to her. And I was scared to go in there. And I go up, in the scary building and come off the elevator and I'm scared. And I know that because she's Japanese, she would ask you to take your shoes off. So I wore my best socks, and the door opened, and because they lived, facing Central Park, they were upstairs, and it was Christmas time. All I saw was Central Park with all the Christmas lights. It was beautiful, and they had a big Christmas tree, and it was just so warm and beautiful in there. And she was barefoot, smoking a cigarette, talking to someone, and right away I felt happy, And she sat down, and she goes, I'm sorry, I still smoke cigarettes. I don't know why I do this, and I started talking about her, and she was really, really gracious and wonderful. And we had the most beautiful talk because I talked about her like you would if you had this opportunity. You don't go right. So when John Lennon died, you wouldn't start there, right? Yeah. But she wrote me a letter afterward. It was so sweet. She goes, you were the first person that talked to me as Yoko and not as Mrs. Lennon. And I thought, that is so sweet. But then I thought, well, are the other guys idiots? I just can't believe that, But since then, I get a Christmas card every Christmas. And I imagine I'm the only person that gets one. No, I know. She must have a big Christmas card list, but it's been an ongoing honor. I was always right. At some point, I'm going to get knocked off this list, and every year they come, And so I have people think, because I have like a shrine to Yoko, I have so many of them. Yeah. If I can get this. There it is. That's one she sent me.
So cool. Yeah.
It was like a mirror. It says, to Paul, love Yoko. And it says, happy holidays, love and peace, Yoko 2011. And she signed that. I'll say in the last couple of years, sadly, she hasn't been signing them. And I've heard that from Elliot Mentz that she's not in great health, but she's 7 years older than John. So she's almost 90 if she's not 90 already. And I put her in my book, Songwriters on Songwriting. We also put her on the cover of, are you still with me?
Yeah, we're here.
Oh, good. I didn't hear anything. Generally, people fade out after a while. Oh, there's the book. Before I did this, I was working for Song Talk magazine, a nonprofit organization put it out, and I wanted to put her on the cover. And they said, what? And I said, we're a nonprofit organization. We put her on the cover. She will donate. Trust me on this. She's a generous and great person. So they took my word for it. She became the biggest donor ever. Not just because she's grateful, because she's very generous. She's given so much money to charities. People have no idea. And really, she was the one that was smart with their money. She started investing in cows and stuff while John was still around. He was like, "Yeah, she runs the business, you know." But then I put her in that book, and she was truly honored because she doesn't get her credit as a songwriter. And she's written beautiful songs. Listen to the song "Nobody Sees Me Like You Do," which is John's favorite song that she wrote. But then I got this from her. You can see my face in it. That's kind of neat. You can see that's kind of a nice shot. I like that. What it says is, "To Paul, thank you for including me in your beautiful book. With love, Yoko, February 00." That must mean 2000. Yoko. So I have that on my wall, and people are like, "Dude, you really love Yoko, huh?" Yes, I do. But thank you. I just, of all the people, I think the only person that's hated as much in the music industry is Mike Love of the Beach Boys. Who people hate him, but I love Mike. But thank you.
Yeah, you love it all because you appreciate all the different contributions each person makes. Speaking of which,
I don't love all songs. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot I don't like at all. But
Sure.
I've met Mike, and he's just gotten a hard rap, and he wrote all the words to "Good Vibrations." Come on.
That's right.
Some people, have bad behavior, but we can forgive them. That's awesome.
Look at that shot going back.
Henry Diltz, of course, took that. The great Henry Diltz, and I look a little younger then, don't I? It's funny. People I know come, who's that with Tom Petty? I said, "That's me." "That's you?"
That's you.
That's funny.
Exactly.
But that was at that's funny. There's Mac Davis. That one I just happened to be at Arts Del. I was at Arts Deli in Beverly Hills talking to two good friends of mine about music, and Mac Davis. He just walked up behind me, and you guys talking about music? And we look around, and it's Mac. So, oh, and then we thought, "What? You know anything about this?" I mean, he wrote "In the Ghetto," which Elvis recorded, major league songwriter, and so anyway, you just put that on. You just put the. It's sweet of you to do this.
Yeah.
That's Leonard Cohen, of course, and that's on the roof, taken by the great Henry Diltz. But that's with a camera. I love that photo. I used to cut my face out of that to use that as my main photo. But Leonard was just an amazing man. Talking to him, he was just so brilliant and so funny, and just an absolute genius, and worked so hard. He'd worked for 10 years on a song, literally. Mm-hmm. He and Dylan met once, and Dylan said, "Hallelujah, how long did that take you to write?" And Leonard said, "I told him 10 years. It was probably longer." And then Leonard said, "That song, I and I, you wrote, Bob. How long was that?" And Bob said, "Probably 15 minutes.
Wow.
But that's what Leonard did. He would write hundreds of verses. He showed me he had notebooks. So in my book, there's some of the verses he cut out. But that photo, I just looked so happy because I was sitting with Leonard, and it's amazing to me that they're gone. I mean, I knew the old timers would be gone, but so many people are gone.
I know you want to also talk about the movie A Million Miles Away, documentary about Peter Case, songwriter and friend. Tell us about that project.
Thanks, Jim. This is why you're everyone's favorite host, because you're so kind. And I'm really proud of that. A Million Miles Away is about Peter Case, who's my friend. I've known him for years. And I say friend, it's not like we hang out too much, but we've known each other a lot. And he's one of the funniest guys I know, and an amazing songwriter. He's one of these guys, like Jules Shearer's this way too, and there's others who I consider secret heroes. Like people that know about him know this guy's amazing. A lot of people consider Peter Case maybe the greatest songwriter working right now. And I think, no one told him it had to be this good, but they always do amazing work. And out of the blue, I got a call, this is before lockdown, that someone was doing a documentary on Peter Case, and I know Peter Case. I guess I reviewed him and I've interviewed him. Can you talk about Peter Case? So yeah, I'll talk and try to stop me, But I love Peter Case because he's one of these guys that writes real songs, with melodies. A lot of hit songs nowadays don't have melodies. They're very sonically interested, perhaps, and they might be hits, and that's a whole different thing. But a melody, that's what lasts. Or even Chrissy Hine with The Pretenders. She said, they used to make fun of me, the punks, because my songs have melodies. We remember her songs. Who's singing Sex Pistols songs today? Anyone? But come on. Melodies matter. And Peter Case writes great melodies, but amazing lyrics. I mean, he read poetry. So I was happy to talk about Peter Case. And this was a long time ago. And then after that, I got friendly with the director, Fred Parnes, who's a wonderful guy. He's a New Yorker. He's a little opinionated, so we often go out for lunch and argue. And the funny thing is, I'm always right, and he's never right. Every time. It's amazing to me.
Amazing how that works out.
Yeah. Like, he doesn't think Randy Newman's that great. Wrong. But I'm also really close with Chris Seifried, who's a musical director who's been working with Lady Blackbird. And he's one of the guys I want you to have on. And Lady Blackbird's become huge in Europe. They're writing beautiful songs. And Chris had a song he wrote recently with Trombone Shorty that was a hit. But it's a great song. Anytime I hear a Chris Seifried song, it's like, wow, it's a hit and it's good. You know, like there are people that do that, Bruno Mars, or there's certain great people that do that a lot, where it's a hit, but it's a great song. It has a melody, and you want to hear it more than once. And to me, like, can you play that years from now on a piano bar? Like that song "Single Ladies." Remember that? Who's going to be playing that on the piano?
Right.
But a song like "Umbrella," which Rihanna performed. To me, that's a great song. That has an amazing melody. So that's what Peter Case is. So they interviewed me, and then I got really friendly with everyone, including Jordan Krause, who's one of the editors and the producers. Just wonderful people. And then they started having screenings when they finished the whole movie, because I didn't know what to expect. Fred Parnes had done several other movies. But still, a movie about Peter Case is an odd choice, because he's not super famous. You know, you got to sell it, and so what are they going to do? Are they going to wreck it? And he made a beautiful, poetic, really poignant movie about Peter. And Peter Case is a wonderful storyteller, so I don't think it would be as good without that. But also they found amazing found footage of Peter from when he was really young. You know, he's older than I am now. He must be like 68 or so. And he was homeless in San Francisco. He escaped Buffalo, the North New York, and was singing on the streets. And then he put together a band, The Nerves, that were a punk band. Then he formed the Plimsolls, which became huge. Then he got a deal, and he was on Geffen Records. But that was a long time ago. So now you see Peter Case as he is now, and he's an older man. He looks very good, got a long beard. And so it's poignant just to see that. But it's such an amazing story, and so beautifully told and so beautifully edited. And they kept me in it, which I think was great. I'm in it for a good 16, 17 seconds, I think. But high point of the film for me. Absolutely. But it was exciting because they showed it in Santa Barbara and the last week here in Los Angeles on the big screen. I should close this window. It's kind of noisy.
What was that, an airplane or a garbage truck? That
was a motorcycle. I live on Beverly Glen, and they drive way too fast on their motorcycles.
Yeah.
Someone's going to get killed. That better not be me. But
yeah.
They showed it the other night as part of a festival at the El Portal Theater in North Hollywood, one of these beautiful historic theaters, on the big screen. And everyone was there, all these great performers. Carla Olson was there, all these great people I know in the business. And it was exciting. And I was on the big screen. To be on the big screen there, that was cool. It was really exciting. It was just a really beautiful night. And Peter was supposed to perform that night, but he got COVID, so he couldn't be there. But Fred and Jordan and Chris talked, and then Lady Blackbird performed, and she's in the movie because it was cool too. I'd never been through the creation of a movie like this where they would show me rough cuts, and I wasn't sure if they really wanted criticism or not, and I didn't have much, but my only thought was that the songs that they were showing were mostly like more bluesy ones, and they weren't showing that he wrote really beautiful melodic songs too. Like he wrote this song called Beyond the Blues that Springsteen, I think this was probably in the 90s, the best song of the year. Mm-hmm. But it never got that kind of attention. So I said, yeah, you got to show that he's a songwriter that could write everything. So they had Lady Blackbird sing his song Two Angels, which is just a gorgeous song, in the studio with Chris Pierce singing beautiful harmony, and it's so beautiful. And so it was actually helpful that I said that. Usually I'm very wary about giving any kind of criticism. So it's so exciting to see it on the big screen. But it's funny, I'm sure, and I've learned this about actors too, who do it all the time. The only thing you care about at first is how you look. Because really nothing else matters. It doesn't matter what you say. If you look goofy. I've done a lot of these TV shows where they ask me questions about Tom Petty or something, and usually they look good. Sometimes they don't they're not that flattering, some people. So, but the movie is now, I should say, to get it right, it's called A Million Miles Away. It's available everywhere to stream.
Oh, good.
You can get it.
It's out now. People can check it out.
Indeed, and it's really a beautiful movie.
Oh, that's fantastic. So did you like
I'm so glad they had me in it. I thought that was good. Sorry?
Oh, absolutely. Did you like that process and observing the making of the movie? And is it something that you'd love to have a chance to be involved in again?
I loved it. Yeah. Now, I have actually worked on documentaries as the interviewer, but never have, because it was with a British director who would take it back. And so I was never in on them making those decisions.
Right.
Though they would let me weigh in. I remember one, and they really should put it out here. It was about Laurel Canyon, and it was really beautiful, but they're talking about the Manson thing. And suddenly, while there's talking, cut to a scene of the Manson murders. And you just go, ah! You know, I said, dude, one, take that out. And then I found out everyone told him that, you know, it was horrific. But I was never in on it like that, because these are really sweet guys. And Fred Parnes is the director, a sweet guy, and his wife is a wonderful French actress. And they're really great people to hang out with. I just love being with them. And it was delightful. It's a long, long process. And you do it so long, it's kind of like making an album. You forget that it'll really be an album. Finally see it on the big screen. And it was touching to me because I just thought it was so great to see it the other night. And Fred, the director, and also Jordan, and also the cinematographer were there. They were upset because the projector, I guess, was old. He says, you weren't really seeing the colors right. There's maroons, you're missing that. And I love that because I never knew it. It looked as good as ever to me, but they see it like that.
They see it specifically,
it's
right?
It's a very exciting thing. I was working on a documentary about John Prine for years when he was still alive. And then it got put on the shelf, and then his manager died. And now his wife took over, who I know well, Fiona. But she doesn't necessarily want to put that out. We even got Springsteen to talk about John Prine. And so I've worked on him, but usually just as the interviewer.
It's really amazing, the opportunities to really celebrate all of this music. What inspires you? What are some of the things that, I know we talked about this a little bit the last time you were on, but maybe you can elaborate a little bit more. What are some of the things that inspire you to pen a song? Of course, you're a performer, a musician, but to actually the art and craft of creating a song, and how for you, Paul, as the years have gone on, as you've lived life, as you've witnessed life around you, how has your songwriting process evolved? So what inspires you initially, and how has it evolved over the years?
That's a very good question, very generous question. It's changed a lot. And when I started writing songs, I had a knack for it. I think like anyone that starts, well, number one, you love songs. There's nothing I love more than Simon and Garfunkel. My first song was an imitation of The Sound of Silence by Paul Simon. I just wrote words to that, which even then I thought this was kind of goofy, but I was 10 years old. But that taught me you have to write in meter and rhyme. And when you get a song perfect, you don't think of those things because it's perfect, but it takes that or it sounds amateurish. So I started doing it the summer I turned 11, which is 1969, the same year we landed on the moon. And both to me were pretty damn momentous, but I knew right away this is what I want to do. Because nothing excited me more. You know, back then we didn't have TVs in our room. We didn't even have color TVs for quite a while. And we didn't have computers, obviously, or phones in the room, but we had our records, and I lived in my records. I remember to this day when Bridge Over Troubled Water came out as a single. It was after Temple, in Sunday school in the city. My dad picked me up. We went out for lunch, and then we went into a cool poster shop, and it was playing. The 45 had come out. And I was like, I just about swooned. I knew it was Garfunkel singing. I just couldn't believe how beautiful it was. And my dad bought me that, of course. And I lived inside that single forever. And then Let It Be came out right about the same time. And I just remember thinking, how does anyone write something that's beautiful? Nothing moved me more in life than that. And I loved, seeing art and movies, and it was all great. But music, it just seemed so fun. So I started playing guitar, and I started writing my own almost immediately. And I had a good guitar teacher who said, I want you to write a new song every week. And he'd give me new chords. And so every week I'd use the new chords. And if you put new chords in a song you wrote, you learn them because they're in your song.
Yes.
And that was a great thing to do. I didn't know at the time. But if you ask someone to do that when they're starting, it forces them to become a songwriter, because pretty quickly you realize, oh, that doesn't really work to do it like that. But it's kind of like driving when no one's, just get in, go, you can't get hurt. But I learned by doing it, and also by response pretty quickly, like, oh, the chorus should be like out there, it was like some of such obvious lessons, but you get better. But I wrote terrible songs for many, many years. At the time, I didn't consider them terrible, but I always knew they were better. Like I'd always have maybe 4 that would be good enough, but I was moving. And my father, being a writer too, was a very harsh critic. He was kind, but his main word that he would always use is trite, meaning it's been done before.
It's been done.
It means yawn. Like I've heard that before.
And I'm, like Bert, your dad, Bert. He was quite creative himself, huh?
He was a monster. No, my dad was a sweet man. He was a wonderful guy and very gentle, beautiful guy, creative. And but he had 3 kids. I was the third one, so he was a responsible man. So he became a public relations man to make a good living, and he did. And but he always told me, I wish I could do something more artistic. He always said that he wanted to be a writer. And as you mentioned, he did a little writing for the first Playboys, and just to be nice to Hefner paid him in stock because he had no money. They tried to together to do a magazine about Chicago, but they couldn't get any investors.
It's funny how you did a little writing for the Playboys.
He didn't do a lot. In truth, it wasn't a lot. But what happened? They were both working for Esquire magazine, which moved to New York. It was in Chicago, and they wouldn't leave their families. My dad, I think, always regretted that. So they tried to do a magazine about Chicago, and it didn't fly. So Hefner said, we should do a magazine with like the writing will be as great as like the New Yorker, but with like nude pictures. And my dad thought that was a ridiculously stupid idea. Why would that work? People that want nude pictures don't want to read the New Yorker, do they? But Hefner goes, would you write for it? So my dad, he wrote several stories, including for the very first issue. The first story he wrote was about like a gold digger, how to not let a woman trick you into marriage. Both my dad and Hefner were married at the time. Right. That's why they use pen names. Even Hefner used a pen name. But that's been confirmed because later in their history, they do these anniversary issues, and they confirmed Bert Zollo. And then Mother Jones did a whole thing. That's when I found out about it. I didn't know anything about it. It's not like my dad would, hey, did you see the Maryland issue? He should have had 10 of those. Those are worth a fortune. No, he didn't have one. Even after, it was successful, he didn't like to talk about it because it was dirty. And he was more proper. But he had stock, so I guess it was like around 78 when the stock went public. Suddenly my dad, he was already doing well, but suddenly he was really wealthy. So he could stop being a public relations man and start writing books. And so that was a great thing for him. And he told me that nothing made him happier than get the music going. He'd smoke a pipe with tobacco in it and write. And he wrote many terrible novels. And I remember saying, and then he told me about his war stuff. He was in World War II in France. And I said, Dad, you should write that book. And he goes, it's been done. Hemingway did it. It's like, no, write your book. And so like within a year, he wrote this book. And it was the first book that he got published called Prisoners by Bert Zollo. It was 79 years old when it got published. That shows you if you're crazy and you don't let go of your dreams, you can do it. And I remember it got a good review, and it said, pretty impressive debut for a very impressive debut. And I think any debut at 79 is pretty impressive. And then he did another book, and I helped him with this one. We self-published this one called State and Whacker about his time in Chicago. And this came out right at the very end of his life. So I was glad that happened, that he got 2 novels out, and he also wrote a book on public relations. And back in the day, we'd go to the library every week, my dad and I. He taught me the love of words, and we go. But back then, they had those big card catalogs that were wooden before the world went digital, and he would be in there, and we go. You know who you're in there right now with that? Hemingway, Shakespeare, Zollo. It was huge. Now you go to the library, it's just a TV screen. Anyone could be on that. It's not the same, but he was a very, very wonderful, very, very sweet, and also he started collecting art too. He loved art. This was one of his pictures, and so I've got some of the art he collected. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you wanted to show us that. Maybe you could.
Well, that's why I put it there in case I'm on a podcast. I thought it'd be a good background, but it's a big painting. But a wonderful guy, and he was very proud of me that I went into, to be a songwriter. Though he knew that wasn't an easy way, and he had no wisdom about how you make it as a songwriter. But when I started being a journalist, and I was doing the layout for Song Talk, it came back with ink all over it because he knew exactly how to do it, and everything he wrote me about layout was right. I didn't know anything about it, and he did, and it was very sweet too. My parents were so proper and neat. Their house was perfect and beautiful. But after he died, I found out that he kept every magazine story that I ever wrote, and most of these were on bands he never knew, like the Soup Dragons or something. And he took all the reviews of my book and put them in the books too. And then he kept all of that, and every cassette tape that I ever sent, he sent all of them, and that was really sweet to me. So he was a wonderful guy, and he was proud of me when I came here. It was tough for him that I didn't live in Chicago, but he always understood, and they would come here to visit once or twice a year, my parents.
Oh, which is
but
nice.
He was very happy when I did the books, but he's very happy with the music too, and he was always. I remember one of the best reviews I ever got, because as I told you, he could be very critical, and I was my main mission in life was to write a song that my dad wouldn't think was trite, something interesting, and I went out of my way to do that, and that's what I do now. And I'd written a song with the great Darryl Purpose, who you had on, about Edgar Allan Poe. It's called Baltimore, because Poe died in Baltimore mysteriously in someone else's clothes. Obvious song. So I wrote that song, and I came home, and my dad had Parkinson's, and he was on a lot of medication. So often I played him a song. He would fall asleep during the song. But he didn't. I played him Baltimore, and he just listened. And afterwards, all he said was, wow.
Yeah.
And that was by far the best review I've ever got in my life, because I could tell, because it has a lot of Poe's language. So he really, it was tough to lose him, and he meant so much to me. Oh. I was lucky, that if you have one good parent, and I had two, but it makes all the difference. And
absolutely, absolutely. Did you want to play a little something for us? I know you.
Well, if you insist.
If I insist, right? I told
everybody. I never had a band when I was in Chicago, so my dad heard me play solo a few times. I play, that was like a folkie, and he liked that. But when YouTube came up, suddenly there's YouTubes of me with my band. And so I said, would you like to see me playing with my band? It's on the internet. He goes, really? Is there sound too? Right. I go, yeah, Dad, there's sound. It's not just like a silent movie of me playing with my band, but he was an old-fashioned man that way. We tried to get him to switch to a computer for his writing, and he tried, and it was a nightmare for him. And he said, can I use my typewriter? And I said, it's okay, Dad. And he had
the beautiful instrument that you've got in your hand there, Paul.
Well, it's out of tune right now, so I'm tuning it. But I do have my dad's acoustic typewriter still. Oops. So I keep pulling these out because I'm an idiot. But I want to say I have his phone too. Hello? Dad? Hello? Not a good connection right now.
Is he giving you direct orders or just?
No, he's not. He's not there right now. They're gonna go. I hope he doesn't go.
Conversation is trite, did he?
No. I think he would love this. He'd find it amazing, because this really wasn't alive when he was. But I do carry that around, this phone here. I carry it on the street, and I'll hand. There it is. I'll hand it to someone. I said, "It's your great grandmother calling." I'll give it to him. And get different.
Kind of like the Twilight Zone with Billy Mooney, when the grandmother passed, and he was always talking to the grandmother on the phone, and the parents were like, "What are you doing?" Because the grandmother had passed, and she looked out for him and loved him. Billy Mooney, of course, Mooney from Lost in Space and everything was in that Twilight Zone episode, which was very cool. And only he.
That's where I got it from. I forgot. But I watched those. I forgot. I learned stuff. I learned stuff from you. You told me how Dick Marks wrote the theme for that song. I didn't know that. Richard Marks is dead.
Channel 2 News theme in Chicago, WBBM, which went across the CBS. Yeah, it's that melody.
And my dad, knew, being in public relations, he knew Dick Marks. But I never knew that he wrote music too.
And he was. Oh, he wrote. He was a jazz trumpeter. And his son is Richard Marks, of course.
Well, I know that, and I've interviewed Richard. And in fact, Richard's been at Ringo's things too. I think Ringo did a Richard Marks song. Ringo's very kind. He records a lot. He does people's songs, and they'll come if he. I'm sorry. I learned if it's not in tune, it sounds terrible.
Something maybe they don't only do what you're doing there. Tell us.
Well, see, this has a built-in tuner, which makes it easier. But you would think.
Tell us about the actual guitar itself.
This isn't a really fancy guitar, but it has a built-in tuner. But I found it at Guitar Center. It's by Talman. I used to not like Guitar Center, but they have so much merchandise that they have amazing deals there, and they also have really good repairmen. I've been fixing broken things there too.
So hard to find left-handed guitars too. So
you just turn it over. Truly, I mean, that's what McCartney. You turn, it's backwards. But some lefties play normal. But George Harrison could pick up the.
We tried to restring a right-handed guitar. and they wouldn't restring it. They're like, you got to get another one because you're left-handed, and
They said that?
it's not going to
Who
work.
said that? Guitar Center told you that?
No, it was a local shop. Yeah, it was a local shop. They refused to restring it. So you had to.
Maybe this wanted to sell a guitar, but you certainly could. I mean, there were no left-handed guitars for a long time.
They said where everything is located, it's on the opposite side. So
It's upside down, but I realized George Harrison could play that because he would pick up McCartney's so often. It's like, how could George? But he could play. I mean, I couldn't play left-handed. So this is a song I wrote a couple of years ago. I kind of rediscovered it and kind of brought it back. Since I haven't been just pounding up stories as much, I've had more time and recording, going over songs, and there are a lot of them that were very close, but I never quite got them done. There's just something wrong with them and something missing, and that's this is one of them. And you find that missing part, and so they can get born again. So this one is called "The End of the World." Hoping you can hear. Sundown on your bed of leaves and stars, far away from the crush of cars. Everyday avalanches. Both of us hungry just to get out of town. Always you with your broken crown. Of olive branches, take a walk with me to the end of the world. All of this concrete becomes clover. Take a walk with me to the end of the world. Hard times will be over. Radio sunshine along the wire. When the grass gets as green as fire, we'd show off our new invention. All lies are open to a waking dream. Love is pure as a laser beam, opening doorways between dimensions. So take a walk with me out to the end of the world. This concrete becomes clover. Take a walk with me to the end of the world. All of our hard times will be over. Times, all our hard times will be over. Junkyards of abandoned love, always you in the wreckage of broken engines of our generation. Cadillac shipwrecks and Chevrolet till the thunderstorm breaks away. We sing songs of revelation. Take a walk with me to the end of the world. Concrete becomes clover. Take a walk with me out to the end of the world. All of our hard times will be over. Hard times, all our hard times will be over.
So very nice, my friend.
Thank you.
So very, very
Could you hear it okay?
Yeah, just faded maybe a little bit in and out. Just I think maybe proximity to the microphone.
The voice or the guitar? Was the guitar too loud?
No, it's just I say a little bit of each. Maybe just sort
Oh,
of came in and out a little bit. Just sort of like a little faint fade, and then would come back here and there.
maybe I was getting too far from the mic. I'll stay still. You know, I did this one podcast. It's kind of a local one for Dylan's birthday, and we all performed. And afterwards, he kind of said, "Oh, by the way, none of the music could be heard. You couldn't hear anyone." But he should have really done a sound check like you do. You know, it's like professional showbiz. You know, it's like if we're gonna come on and do you something,
And they heard nothing.
I guess it's like we could just hear like you couldn't hear any of the words or something. It was just distorted. It was not good.
Oh boy!
But really, you need to figure that out before the show, as you well know.
You are a musician. How many different instruments do you play?
A few. I mean, mostly. I play a little mandolin and banjo and guitar, bass. I play a piano, and so I can kind of keyboard. That's about it.
Was
Is there
Was
anything
that the
else?
very first instrument you learned? Was it the guitar, or did you learn? Because a lot of people they'll say, "No, Jim, I may be an expert at the guitar, but my first instrument was the violin or the
Exactly.
piano or the flute." Was yours the violin?
It was. Not that I chose you. Did you learn how to play it well?
It was age 13. Yeah, age 13.
Oh, I was younger. So you learned how to play?
Yes. Yeah, it's a beautiful instrument, isn't
It is. I love violin, but they did not teach me how to play. And I must have been 10, and they just gave it to me. And it sounds, if you don't know it, it's terrible sounding.
You will
I was so
get it.
little, it was a half violin.
Right.
And they would sit me in the back, and when they would do, I was like way in the back, but they didn't even teach me anything. But then when I played guitar, I got a teacher who taught me how to play. So I never wanted to play violin, but guitar just seemed so cool because the Beatles and everything. It's like, and it's fun too.
Absolutely.
And I always loved guitar so much. I remember, like my brother would say, in the winter I would come in with my winter coat on. I would just go to the guitar. I wouldn't even take my coat off. It's like, this is my guitar.
Yeah.
And it's always felt like that. It's why it just feels comfortable too.
The way
But-
it's a friend, the way you're hugging it, even now, it's.
It is, and there's a lot. I have a lot of good friends. These are my best friends. I got them all over. Some of my friends are gone, and I miss them.
I know. Did you want to share something else for us?
Another song from me? No, actually, I would love to.
From me? Wait, me? Am I on Star Search right now?
Well, it's funny when I watch
Man?
musicians I know that come on your show, and you ask them that so nicely. They're like, "Try to stop me." I mean, that's all people want to do is play this.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I know.
Well, maybe I'll play it on this
Most
one,
people only allow like one song, and that's it.
if that.
If even that, I know. Well, this is
Sometimes they don't want you to do live, but I mean, you. My friend Neil Rosengarten has perfect pitch, and it's very painful for him because he could always tell if the tiniest thing it would bother. So I hope he's not listening. This might be out a little.
He is watching.
Is he?
Yes.
Neil, is it out of tune? I could play on the electric too. Maybe
He
I'll do
said
that.
hello from L.A.
Neil Rosengart is a genius of songwriting. I don't just say that because he's one of my best friends. Because none of my other friends are geniuses. I mean, they're good, but Neil really is. He just wrote he writes scores. He just wrote this. There's a great movie about Groucho and Dick Cavett that came out, and Neil wrote the score.
yeah.
But Neil worked for
Two of my
Arif
favorites.
Martin at Atlantic, and
Yeah.
he told me he was there once, and they were smoking a joint in the bathroom, and Aretha Franklin walked in, and she goes, "Are you guys smoking pot in here?" He said, "Yeah." She goes, "Give me some," and she took a hit of it. And so he smoked with the Queen of Soul. To me, that doesn't get much more exciting than that. But he is just a remarkable musician. He can play any instrument, but especially trumpet.
Trumpet, yeah.
He's a great trumpet player.
Love the sound of the
Hold
trumpet.
on, just a second.
Yeah, it's cool to get to
Let's
see it
plug in.
behind the
Let's plug in.
scenes and the making of and how it all works. Yeah. Well,
Just a
exclusive
moment. What was that?
background.
This is what roadies are for.
You and I talked about I don't
Put this
have mine
back
on now, but you and I talked about us both being hat collectors and loving the hats. That's a cool hat you have on tonight.
Oh, thank you. I think my son got me this one.
Yeah.
He's like, "Dad, you need a new hat." But he's very stylish. He's always trying to get me to.
Bradley's
clothes.
here. Bradley says, I'm proud to feature
Bradley.
performing his song.
Dr. Bradley Bobs. He's a scientist, actually. and a Poe expert.
Yeah, cool.
I introduced him once. It's just Bradley. It's Dr. Bradley Bones. But he is actually a physicist, but he's a Poe expert. So he did a cool play that I was in with Alea Aquarian, who was in it. That's her real name. And he played Poe. And I sang my song about Poe, and I was the band. Oh, wow. And it was in the Fringe Festival here, and that was a lot of fun. And we've done it elsewhere since then. And I'm glad he tuned in. Thank you, Bradley, for tuning in. You can tell who your real friends are when they tune in live. I mean, they might watch later, but the guys that tune in live,
but when
he's probably at work right now, too. Well, I think I mentioned to you I know I did in email. I think I did, that I interviewed Steve Allen, the great Steve Areno.
Yeah.
Do you remember Steve Allen?
Sure.
And you know names. I mean, he was the original host of The Tonight Show. He was the first one. Did you know that?
Yeah, he was before Jack Parr, before Carson, and
yeah, he was the very first one. And then and he wrote a lot of songs. I mean, he wrote thousands of songs.
Oh, absolutely.
And then he did other shows. He wrote many books. But I was hearing he died several.
Meadows, sister of Audrey Meadows, who was Alice on The Honeymooners.
That's key to the story too. So he was with Jane, right? He was with Jane Meadows, or he was with Audrey. I always get confused which one.
Husband, Steve Allen and Jane Meadows were husband and wife.
Okay, that's what I thought. Then someone said, no, he was with Audrey Meadows. But Audrey was on The Honeymooners, right?
Audrey was Alice Cramden on The Honeymooners, yeah.
Right.
Her sister, yeah.
And Jane Meadows was beautiful. He always felt that he kind of married up, like what'd she do with a clown like me, but he was a sweet man. And I heard suddenly from songwriters that he's writing songs with people. Like he needs lyrics. He writes music. And so I went to interview him, and then I want to write a song. I said afterwards, would you consider, could we write a song together? He goes, well, why don't you send me a lyric? And we'll see. And it's like, okay, you tell me that. I'm going to. So I purposely wrote what I considered an old-fashioned lyric, because I love standards. I'm not going to write him like a trippy lyric. He didn't like those hippie lyrics. He used to make fun of them on his show. So I wrote him a lyric called Blue Stars. And I put the word meadow in it because I figured he was always talking about her. That was the love of his life. If meadow is in it, that can't hurt. But I didn't hear anything for weeks. And then after a couple of weeks, in the mail, I got a big envelope, and it was the music written out by hand, the whole transcription. Something that's never happened to me, and just doesn't happen. Songwriters will send you a tape, or they might play it for you, but I know Bob Malone can write it up, but he doesn't do that for his own songs. And it had a lot of what I consider adult chords, not your rock and roll chords. So it took me a while to figure it out, but I worked on it really hard. And then I added a part that kind of made it more of a chorus. And this was the year 2000. I was playing at a club called the Mint in Santa Monica. And we invited him. I didn't know if he would come, but he came with his son. His son brought him there. And he was quite old. That was the last year of his life. And I was really amazed because all the hipsters in the club lined up to meet him. Somehow they found out who he was. And I played this song, and he said I did it pretty well, but I could do it better now. I mean, it's like 23 years ago. But I haven't recorded it yet. And I want a wonderful jazz singer to do it. I don't know if you know any. So this is called Blue Stars, written by me and Steve Areno. If only there was a picture of Steve around here somewhere.
And of course, another Steve in our life who's a big supporter and friend of our show, Steve Kalinich, too.
Stevie Kalinich. Stevie's still with us, fortunately. And he better be for a long time. Stevie's a great poet. I'm so glad you had him on your show. There's Steve Allen. If you look in the Guinness Book of World Records, I think he's known as writing more songs than just about anyone, but most of them don't have words. And one time after we wrote this one, he sent me a cassette tape, and it was like 80 melodies. I still have it. So I'm not sure if that counts, but he had a lot of music.
Yeah, Steve Kalinich was on, and we talk almost every day. He's
Steve,
going to be coming on.
You talk with Stevie every day?
He's in a movie. He was just in a movie.
I know.
I told you that. Yeah, he's all excited.
I know. I would have gone, but my movie was being shown the same day. No, something else was happening.
He's a big fan of our series, and he has sent a lot of folks our way, too. He's just a sweetheart.
Good, yeah, he is. He's a sweetheart. He's beloved.
But I think initially, you sent him to us first.
Yes, you're already forgetting. No, he doesn't remember. I said, because he was telling me about this as if he was your friend. I said, I got you on that show. He goes, I'm old. He uses the old thing. And he is old, but so am I.
Wow. I tell people when they say that, seasoned veterans.
I just turned 95. I don't think people realize that.
You look very good.
Thank you. Most people lie young. I think if you lie older, then you get a compliment. Really?
That's right.
Surprise.
You speak fast for 95.
Stevie's young. He's what? Is he 82? But
And I
you go
can't
out with
believe-
Stevie. He's like the mayor of LA. You go out with him. He's loved everywhere. It's great. I love going out with him.
And I can't believe at 95 you're still plucking.
It's the good food. So this is called Blue Stars. I did write some songs with Stevie. I should sing those too. Long to take you far away from the clamor and the clash, from the mad frenetic pace, from the frenzy and the flash, to somewhere we could be alone, between Jupiter and Mars, riding through the galaxy, underneath blue stars, underneath blue stars. Long to hear your heartbeat close, just like bird song in the morning mist, for every moon that ever rose, on every meadow where we kissed. I long to see your spirit shine where yesterday still sparks. Winter greens memories underneath stars, underneath blue stars, blue stars, blue stars that shine on you, they shine on me too. Darling, it's true, I am in love with you. I wish that we could kiss the sky, just like starlings in a golden flight, and soar above this dream of life into the blue majestic night, just to hear the songs angels play on luminous guitars, gliding through the Milky Way, underneath blue stars, underneath blue stars, blue stars that shine on you, they shine on me too. Darling, it's true, I am in love. Blue stars that shine on you, they shine on me too. Darling, it's true, I'm in love with you. I'm in love, I'm in love
Bravo, my friend. That's beautiful. That is really, really
I
beautiful.
didn't mess it up. That one's
What
takes some more work. It's got all these.
yeah,
it's fun to play.
A lot of finger movement. What was the inspiration for that one?
Truly, I like that. I think I had the title "Blue Stars." That seemed like a nice title. I love lyrics that have colors, because colors speak to us. John Prine used blue a lot, like Blue Umbrella, Yellow Submarine. I mean, the colors are good. Little Red Corvette, but blue has a special. It's sad. And Blue Stars. I think I might have had that title, but I was meaning to write old fashioned. I want to write anything he wouldn't like. At the same time, I threw in some stuff, like I put in The Clash, kind of messing with. I didn't think he would know The Clash, but he would make fun of stuff. And I put in Kiss the Sky also, which is a Hendrix line, because he thought all rock and roll sucks. I just kind of was messing around, but that's there. But and you might have heard there's the line in there about Meadow, but I was just trying to find something that worked. And actually, once I got the melody back, I did rewrite some of the lyrics, because you don't really know if a melody's good until you have the music, and the thing is that, as Paul Simon says, it's a crucial balance, the words and music. If one of them is weak, the song's going to suck. It doesn't matter how great the other one is. You could have, Strawberry Fields lyrics with a different melody. No one will want it. It won't be the same, but if you have both. So it's called singability too. It's something songwriters know about that we don't talk about a lot, but some words just don't sing well. It might look good on the page, but you have to sing it. And some words just don't sing well, but some lay into the rhythm so beautiful. There's certain words that are so fun to sing, that are great, that people do all the time, and also you have to rhyme. You don't have to, but if a song doesn't have rhymes, it sounds wrong, which is strange, because poems rarely does modern poetry use rhymes at all anymore, but you have to in song. But I love rhyming. Some songwriters, like Tom Petty, said that he thought it was kind of a curse that you have to do it, but it's a challenge too, because it's so limited, but it's fun to rhyme. And Dylan loved that too. And, he was really amazing with rhymes. So it was pretty much a traditional structure, but once I heard that music, it's so beautiful. It's a very haunting melody. And using chords, I would be using rock and roll chords. Right away, his first chord is this, which has that extra note. Instead of this is the normal chord for a folkie, and then the jazz guy. And then these are called diminished chords, like these past the notes, the chords between the chords. So I learned some of that from him. I've become a much better guitarist. I never used to know those chords. So, but also I've studied a lot of standards, because my mom liked it, and that is another great education for songwriter. Play the standards. I'm talking Gershwin, those guys, Cole Porter, Rodgers and Hammerstein, Rodgers and Hart. Because those are melodies. As a lot of people, that was the age of melody. That's why book. Yeah. And those songs lasted for a reason. Those are amazing songs. People don't remember, but back in the day, if a song was successful, there wouldn't be just one hit version. Suddenly there'd be 6 versions by different. There'd be a band version, a big band, singer,
instrumental, everything, right?
Yeah. I interviewed Livingston and Evans, who were in my book, and they wrote Que Sera Sera and Silver Bells. They wrote for a movie. They wrote Silver Bells for a Bob Hope movie. Exactly. But they wrote To Each His Own, which was a hit. But back then they said all of their hits, I think it was To Each His Own. There are 4 versions of To Each His Own in the top 10 at the same time by different artists. And that was the sign of a hit. Nowadays, that seems crazy, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. But that was the thing back then. But they also wrote the themes for Mr. Ed and for Bonanza, Livingston and Evans.
The TV themes, yeah. We've talked about TV themes here on the show, and how, you're talking about music that you can sing to, and the melodies, and it harkens back memories. We've had a lot of conversations on the show with folks who've been in the jingle world and the TV theme and film score world as well. And I constantly said, I miss jingles. I loved jingles for, everything, home products, things that whether it's dish detergent or motor oil, there was always a jingle, or a soda, or, a hamburger, there were jingles, and TV stations had jingles, and networks and radio stations W da da da.
Every product had them, and
All these
they were catchy. They were very sure they had to be catchy.
singers and session musicians, and it would just feel good. And even the TV themes too, that you would hear the theme, you'd hear the music. If there was a choral or whatever involved, you'd be singing along to it as well. And I think we're missing a lot of that.
Yeah, you'd hear it millions of times. In fact, those guys that wrote
Sonic.
Yes.
Yeah.
And those guys that wrote TV themes, they made a fortune because you get paid every time it plays. I know some of those guys.
Quite a few. Yeah.
Alan Thicke?
Wrote quite a few. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, and then of course, one of the Ed Kalehoff, who wrote all the music for The Price is Right and all the game shows.
Right. Also, Gimbel and Fox, who wrote like Killing Me Softly, which is a famous song, and I Got a Name for Jim Croce. They also wrote the Love American Style theme and some of those other ones.
And
they felt they were kind of...
Fox in his orchestra did fabulous versions of that, and the Love Boat. And yeah, when you hear those things, you knew what you were going to be watching and you had a feeling about it. I always reference the Dick Van Dyke Show and, those themes.
My favorite of them.
All in the Family and just all of it. And I think we're missing some of that familiarity, that warmth.
Even like the Cheers theme, that became very popular. Remember for Cheers? That was a great song.
Just even like the themes to the actual, like the NBC Sunday night movie.
Oh yeah, those.
The production music alone is fantastic. I love production music and news themes and stuff like that. And all of that is just really the arrangements and the melodies and the instrumentation and just the
absolutely
gravitas of some of that as well. And what was that theme that ABC used to use for the movie of the week? And it was the Burt Bacharach theme that he wrote for his daughter.
Was that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Da-na-na-na-na-na. Yeah.
Oh, that was his.
And that was Burt
Bacharach. Talk about adult chords. That's Burt Bacharach. He was amazing.
Absolutely right. Well, if we came over to your house right now and we went into your musical player, what would be in it?
You'd find some Bacharach. In fact, Rumer, who's an amazing singer, she's British, though she's here. She did a whole album of Bacharach called This Girl's in Love. And they asked me to do photos. They did it at Capitol. And her husband was Rob Sherrick-Burry, was Bacharach's musical director for years. And so Bacharach came in. He was quite old at that time. It was about 5 years before he died, but it wasn't in great shape. And they let me take photos. But it was so beautiful to watch him work. I mean, that man just lived music. It was really beautiful. And he was remarkable. And also so good looking. He became famous. I mean, he was among songwriters, especially. He was like a matinee idol. Hal David wrote the words, but he didn't look like a star. But Burt was, but a serious musician. It was interesting because he knew the piano so well, and I asked people that know it that well, like, when you play it, do you know everything? Is that like if you're going to write a melody, if you're Burt Bacharach, you already know where everything is? And he goes, you know what I do? I have to get away from the piano because otherwise, I'm thinking of all the chords and I have to get away and just hear the melody. And that's why some of his melodies are so magical, like Alfie. If you play it, it's really odd, the way it ends on certain notes. But it's breathtaking. It's so beautiful. So after I took all those photos of Bacharach, they didn't want me to publish any because he didn't look well. But then some of them, he looks really good. But it was really touching him and Rob working on this song together. It was beautiful. And I did get to interview a lot of the old timers. One guy that was really funny is Irving Gordon, who wrote "Unforgettable." Remember that song?
Yeah, sure.
That first Nat King Cole had a hit, and then his daughter
Natalie did the duet with him after he passed. Technology,
that's right.
To sort of bring the two together, and
right. And Irving Gordon wrote that song, but he wrote it a long time ago. So he was what we'd call an altar cocker. That very old, kind of confused Jewish man. For lunch, maybe applesauce, but that doesn't matter. But I wanted to talk to him, and Unforgettable won a Grammy the year I talked to him. I think it was the last year of his life. He must have been like 112, but he was quite elderly. And he actually stood up, I think, at the Grammys and started saying some off-color stuff. They had to pull him off the stage or something. But when he got together with me, it was so
14 seconds.
I think it was subject matter that he wasn't supposed to go on to. He's an old man. Start swearing or something. But
didn't matter, yeah.
But I just, the first thing, of course, I said, what a great song. He goes, I've written so many songs better than that. I was always embarrassed. Why? He goes, why? Because unforgettable and incredible, those are not perfect rhymes. That's not great. It's not. You think anyone in this century ever noticed that? They don't care. Then you don't even have to rhyme anymore. But that's a songwriter. Go, that's not a perfect rhyme. It's funny. But I love to get to. I talked to Sammy Kahn too, who wrote so many songs for.
Sure.
And Sammy right away, he said, "I know Ivy rhyme. There's Paul. He's got a beard. He looks a little weird." But Sammy, that's not great, He was funny. He was very funny.
That is funny.
Sammy's whole thing was, if you're a songwriter, you have to be aggressive. He's like, I'm not the best songwriter. I'm the fastest. If Sinatra needs a song, I got the first song to him because you got to get it fast. And I appreciate that. That is part. And songwriters generally are terrible at that, pushing themselves.
Yeah,
it's the hardest thing to do. You want to hear my song that I just wrote? It's amazing. It's hard, but Sammy was a genius at that. And
even like we were talking about the jingles and the commercials, they had to write those catchy things that got you in 30 seconds or a minute, and you would remember it, and then you want to participate in whatever it is that they were singing about. That's
right.
Really an art form, huh?
Manilow did some of those. Barry Manilow.
Barry Manilow did a lot. Yes.
Yeah.
Hoover vacuums, and there's a whole thing. I think he did a whole. I think at one of his concerts, he actually did like a medley of some of the commercials that he
did a lot. Huh?
Created the music for.
Because you're right, you have to do it in a very short period of time. It has to be catchy. That's not easy to do.
Do you have a favorite song that you've written? One that is your personal favorite? I know they're all like your children. They all have their special meanings, and
some of them are bad kids. I love all my children, but some of them I love more than
up once in a while. But do you have one that is?
I used to go through periods where I think this is by far my best song because I was always progressing. Now I think I've got more than one really great one. But
and sometimes best and favorite aren't always the same.
Absolutely. One of my favorite songs, well, there's two. There's one called because I noticed, and a lot of people have noticed it since, but as soon as like Facebook started, and I see all my friends are traveling and they're in Greece and France, and I wouldn't be so happy. So I don't want to hear about their trip in Greece. I'm sitting here having to work, which just kind of upset me. So I wrote a song about that, and I didn't think that song would work, and it kind of works. But the other one I wrote recently, I wrote a song about Johnny Cash. I read a beautiful book that Robert Hilburn wrote about him, and at the end of his life, Johnny Cash said he thought God was speaking to him through the crows, and his wife was already gone, who he loved, June. And so I wrote a song called "The Song of Crows," and I don't know if it's my favorite, but I think it's really, as far as a coverable song, I think that would be great for a country singer. I like to do it, and I wrote it with Darryl, he performs it. And I got another thing, I was sitting next to a friend of mine when Darryl performed it, and I said, I wrote the lyrics. He goes, "You wrote that? That's nice from a friend." Normally friends go, "Oh yeah, I like that a lot," but that you can tell is genuine. "You wrote that? You?" So it meant he liked it. So I think that might be one of my best.
That's one of your best, yeah. Have you ventured into a lot of different genres?
Yes.
Yeah.
But obviously, I live in hip hop and rap. That's where I live.
Well, that's what I thought. Exactly right. Punk rock.
No, I started out really. I've done some punk songs. I love the Clash and that stuff, but I did a rap song. It was terrible though. I was on someone else's. I don't know how to rap, but I do like some hip hop. But I do like melodies. I'm old fashioned, but I've done like Blue Stars. I've written many songs like that are like old standards, what I consider real melodies. And you can do them more modern instead of having just like jazz brush drums. You could have like real drums. And I have a lot of those. I even have some that have old fashioned introductions. Remember old songs where you'd have kind of this meandering melodic thing before the song would kick in?
The build up, yeah.
Well, you hardly ever hear that. Here, there, and everywhere that McCartney wrote has that. But and I have a lot of rock and roll, and I've even been doing kind of like Latin stuff, funk. I like I like stuff with rhythm.
Yeah.
Rock and roll. I've been writing some
percussion and yeah.
Good rock and I wrote a really good rock and roll song lately. But being me recently, I always put old fashioned words. It's called "My Cockamamie Valentine." Because I have my finger on the pulse. I know kids go, "Cockamamie, I want to hear that."
You haven't heard that one in a long time, right?
Yeah, but it's fun. You want to hear a little of that? It's just like old fashioned rock and roll.
Yeah,
it's fun
to Jim Master Show live.
I'll just play part of it.
Cockamamie, good time here.
You were in the lavender area behind the Taco Bell on Vine. You were glowing like a Veladora candle in a coal mine. I said, baby, don't betray me, my cockamamie Valentine. We'll go down to the ocean for a sentimental hullabaloo. When the summer sun is golden and the mystic moon is blue. Ain't no one I'd rather do than ever shooting boot on you. So hear the jingle jangle of the radical ragtime, like a funkadelic angel and roller skates and moonlight. We go down to the ocean in all of the wind chimes. Hey baby, you know you are crazy, my little narcissistic, schizophrenic, psychopathic lady. And nothing but your crazy love will ever save me. You're the wind and the wisteria blowing up on the boondocks. You're the hidden and the hysteria going over my moon rocks while we dance in advance in the newborn equinox. So let's go down to the ocean for a sentimental hullabaloo. When the summer sun is golden and the mystic moon is blue, ain't nowhere on earth I'd rather be than right here with you.
Really nice, my friend. Really, that's cool. I like that.
I messed up the lyrics quite a bit. I figured it would be in there, but no, it wasn't. My brain used to have all of that for me. What, sorry?
That was cockamamie good.
I'm good at just mangling the words if I can't remember. But I write a lot of lyrics, and my mind used to be, gets to my age, it used to have everything right there.
You're 95, you said. So
it happens. It happens.
You're nailing it at 95, my friend.
Thank you, Tim. It's nice to work with you.
Doing it 100. Why do you love you doing what you do? You've done it for a long time, and you celebrate it. You know, you're not just in it as a creator and an artist and a performer. You're also celebrating it and capturing it and immortalizing it, which I think is a beautiful thing. I guess I sort of do that as well, being immersed in all the different things I've done in television, radio, and everything, but then also celebrating and appreciating and sharing it. You do the same too in the musical world. Where does that passion come from? And what are some of those blessings and joys in your life that continue to, push you forward doing it?
Well, I appreciate that. You do that very well. You celebrate people very generously. And even when people go on podcasts or on shows, they don't always get the celebration they deserve. And I as I said, growing up, I had such a reverence for songwriters. I was very, very clear who wrote the songs. And they meant more than anything to me. And it became really clear, this is magic what they're doing. Those songs are impervious to time. They never wear out. I could hear, Strawberry Fields or any Beatles song or Bridge Over Troubled Water. It moves me. It doesn't wear out. And the less famous songs, Only Living Boy in New York and all those songs, they meant the world to me. And as a kid, I always thought, I wonder if anything is ever going to touch this. And it hasn't. And so when I was growing up, that's all I ever wanted to do. And so the interviewing was just kind of it was attached to that. Like, I get to interview Paul Simon. It means I'll just get to hang out with him and ask him all these questions I've been dying to ask him. But after a while, it became kind of apparent to me that the songs I love are changing. I mean, songwriting, the American popular song has evolved a lot. I asked Dylan about it. He said the evolution of the popular song is like a snake with its tail in its mouth. Mm-hmm. It's a Dylan answer, which I didn't realize at the time is an ancient symbol of infinity.
Right.
It'll keep going around, but without Dylan or the Beatles, I don't think it would have come out the same way, And so that matters to me. I mean, I was hyper aware because I was born in '58. When the Beatles came on the radio in '64, that sounded different. And then when then Sgt. Pepper, I mean, they started writing amazing songs. I mean, the music was already amazing, but suddenly being for the benefit of Mr. Kite, it's like, well, you could write anything. And then Simon was doing it, and then there's James Taylor, and it just seemed the most exciting thing in the world. There was nothing to me more interesting. I remember thinking, man, if I could just read about Paul Simon, you can do that now. If I had this as a kid, I probably never would have left my home. It might not have been good for me. But so as I mentioned, I never wanted to write about music. But when I came to LA, I just wanted to be a singer-songwriter. I wanted to be Paul Simon, frankly. I was looking for a Garfunkel, and I got a job at a recording studio. But I started writing, and I interviewed Mrs. Guthrie, who I worked for, and I submitted that around to Musician Magazine, and I kept getting rejected. I got rejected for years. It's very hard to get established then because you can't get published. You get no track record until you're published, but you can't get published until someone says yes. And they were just big magazines then. It was really hard. Nowadays, you could publish it all over, and you could show that you can write, and you could get a job. It doesn't mean you get any money at all, but someone might hire you. It's never been a lot of pay. The books do better. But always I was doing it that I wanted to celebrate the art form. And it's one reason I connected with songwriters. I mean, that's why so many, like James Taylor, a few years ago, he did an album of standards. And standards he grew up with. And he said, I did that because this is an artistry. This is high art. This is one of the greatest arts America has ever created. Gershwin, Cole Porter. So he did a whole album about that. And so for American Songwriter, I wrote about each song at length. And they put that on his website, and then he's spoken to me about that album, and I've gotten to talk to him. He's one of the most brilliant. He's such a thoughtful person. He talked with me just about the nature of consciousness for like a half hour.
Yeah,
I mean, very philosophical.
Yeah, right.
But he was doing that, and others have done that. Like, this is an art, and we're losing it. And a lot of those guys could write those kind of songs. McCartney, James Taylor, J.D. Souther wrote a beautiful album of those kind of songs, but it didn't sell because they don't know how to promote it, and that's not what's going to sell in this. So those kind of songs that are just beautiful, they mean so much. They're timeless, and that's what's so beautiful about songs to me. They're timeless, and you're trying to create something timeless. And in truth, I talk to songwriters a lot. It's an audacious, aspiration, because you don't want to just write songs for your friends or your girlfriends and maybe your parents, and that's enough. You don't even want to write songs for the whole world. You would like if the whole world loved it. You want to write songs that the whole world will love long after you're gone. After you're dead, you want people to still be loving your song. That's the ultimate, to write a standard. That's what I've always aimed at. I think lots of songwriters nowadays just like, dude, but that is the ultimate, and it's possible in this day and age. But I think people are losing sight of what matters. Yeah. And that's another reason Tom Petty was so great. He wrote melodies. He understood the fundamental, to me seems really obvious, like melody. There he is again.
You know who's good at that? And he's about 1920. He was on our show. He's a big fan of our show as well. Jake Thistle.
Yeah, Jake is great, and a Major League Tom Petty fan. And he's going to be at the Tom Petty celebration. That's where I met him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I performed with Jake. He's the real deal. I mean, when he gets out and does a Tom Petty song, he lives in it. He's music. And they were telling me, he's been doing that since he was a kid, a little kid.
Right. Yeah, as a little kid. Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
So,
and also,
you start early and then you just keep at it. And it's not easy. Difficult industries, difficult field. And
right.
Changing the music industry itself has changed. Even how you get your music now with the downloads and
they found it's very hard to make
physically have an album with liner notes and tactile. It's all digital.
I know.
Download. Do you like that or no?
No. I mean, I like the record albums that open up because, marijuana used to have seeds in it. So that would be a perfect place to, clean the pot out. But I liked having albums. I liked that you turn it over. So there was an intermission. It was like 2 acts, And I remember when they came up with CDs, I looked around like this, but they were so convenient. You could put them in your car. And I still listen to CDs, and that, I still make them, and I put them out. And albums. I listen to LPs too, though I haven't put out an LP of my own stuff, but people are buying LPs. I should now.
Yeah, you are.
But I remember giving my CD to my son, and he goes, "Dad, I don't even know what to do with
I
this.
don't know. I don't have any machinery to put it in, or cars don't have them anymore.
No, he has his his playlist on the, but
yeah.
But a melody still gets through. And Tom Petty said, I said to him, like, how do you know if a melody is good? And he goes, well, here's a good lesson. Here's a good thing. Can you hum it? Because if you can't hum it, it's not hummable. That seems like such an obvious thing, but it's true. If you can't hum the thing, there's no melody there. And it's very easy to get lost. I mean, he was talking about some people become amazing guitarists, so they're lost in all their guitars, but the melody is just going through. There's no melody. And that's what we remember. Chris, so many, the songs that we remember, I mean, the Clash are still remember, like Rock the Casbah, that was punk rock, but it's got a melody. The Sex Pistols, probably their biggest song was My Way, which, Paul Anka wrote, but it's got a melody, And a melody is a beautiful thing, and, it touches the human heart and the soul, and your scientists don't have a clue.
Like
even.
Marvin Hamlish, The Way We Were. I mean,
yes.
Those kinds of,
Absolutely.
It's the test of time.
Absolutely. You get Barbara Streisand to sing it. You seen that song, Blue Stars? I think Barbara should sing that. Don't you? You can help me get it to her. Her sister. Right?
Yeah.
No, but
you talk about melody, and we talked about this a little bit on the show in the past.
I'm going into my Sammy Kahn mode there. Let's get it to Barbara. Sorry.
Well, even Christmas music too can be extraordinarily beautiful.
That's why all the Jews wrote great Christmas, all the best Christmas songs by Jews.
These are songs that come back every single year, so they're staples. They're grounding. They make you feel good, no matter what has gone on. I always say, no matter what's gone on during the course of the year, here comes this music that can be spiritual or just something that you really enjoy for the season, whatever your take is on it, but just really beautiful melodies that are like lullabies that you've heard ever since you were born. And every year, no matter what goes on during the 12 months, at the end of the year, just before the new year, here comes that music you've heard since you were a child in all its different ways, shapes, and forms.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I agree.
And it really is.
And I grew up, with snow and stuff. We don't have that in LA, but we have the music. Right? Yeah, but we have the music, so it makes me happy.
You go in the department stores and you'd hear it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but Christmas was still magical. We're Jewish, obviously, but we had Christmas. I don't believe anyone should deny their children Christmas in America. I don't care what religion you are. I have friends that don't agree. They're wrong too. But I mean, come on, Santa Claus? You can't do.
We had neighbors that had the Christmas tree and the menorah in the same window. Yeah.
We didn't have a tree. My dad wouldn't go there, but we had Christmas with presents, but the music was good.
And the husband was Jewish or something, so they exposed, I guess, both to the kids.
But there's a funny, because Jewish songwriters were smart. That's why they were writing. They knew they need Christmas songs. And Livingston and Evans, who I mentioned, who wrote Que Sera, Sera, and they wrote Silver Bells. It was originally for a Bob Hope movie, but originally the title was Tinkle Bells. And it was Ray Evans, he was the lyricist, Jay Livingston wrote the music, and Ray Evans' wife said, Tinkle Bells, that has a slight maybe toilet meaning, don't you think? Maybe change that. So the last second they just said, okay, Silver Bells, and I went with that. And that to me seems like it's been around forever, but I guess they wrote it in the 50s.
Confused it later on with Tinkerbell from Disney, right?
Right.
And Gull Bells was already taken, right? Silver Bells is beautiful, yeah. And of course, White Christmas.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. And he wrote Easter Parade, too. Philip Ross said he was the greatest Jewish genius because he took Christ out of Christmas, made it about snow. Then he took, the blood out of Easter and made it about fashion. He wrote Easter Parade.
Easter bonnet and sung Julia.
Yeah, he was the king of taking any craze. Irving Berlin wrote a bunch of songs that had ragtime in the title. They weren't ragtime songs like Alexander's Ragtime Band, but they were hits because ragtime was the craze. So he would just get in on any craze but do it really well.
This was such a great conversation, my friend. 2 hours and 5 minutes, and it went by in a New York minute, as it always does, Paul. There's the website, bluerailroad.com. Check it out. It's really fantastic, and I really hope you enjoyed the time with me as I have with you, and it really, really a treat. And
I want to go for a few more hours. Do we have to wind it up so soon? No. I love talking to you, and I tended to go on and on, but I appreciate it. Thank you for having me back. It's a real honor, and I love this show. I love watching it as well as being on it. And I'll admit, I do watch the one you did with me because you asked me such interesting questions. I always wonder what I'm going to say, and It's always fun.
The pleasure is all mine. And like I said the last time, and when I say it to our guests, I stand by those words. The porch light is always on for you. We always have a wonderful time. You've been and continue to be so supportive of what we're doing at the Jim Masters Show, the uniqueness of it, how we're doing it, the variety, the interaction, and all the different things. And it takes, it's a lot of work behind the scenes. California, it takes a lot of work behind the scenes to get it all together, considering, I've got a full-time career in TV and radio during the daytime. And then here we build this monster.
I don't know how you do it, because you must do a lot of research to get it, because you got your stuff down.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time, and then to do the show. But I got to say, you were really great. You had my friend Earl Grey on. I mean, you've had many. Marvin Etzioni, I love that one. Ted Delfers, and several people that I love. But Earl Grey is a great musician, but he's also very famous as a ufologist now, doing the UFO stuff.
Yes,
and I said,
right.
Talk about your music too, and you brought that out. And it made him feel so good, because he hasn't played music as much, because he's so famous. It's like, enough with the aliens. Okay, the aliens are here. Can we have another song, please? Enough already with the aliens. That's all. But so that was beautiful how you were with him. But you're really great at it, so it's fun to it's an honor to be with you.
The pleasure.
Come back again, Well, I don't have that many years left, but before I'm 100, maybe.
You say he was born in 58, so we'll have to calculate that, right?
You can do math.
Yeah,
I think that would be
real quick. You are really
that'd be old.
You're a gem of a guy, Paul Zollo. Truly, you've given us so much entertainment and music and art over the years, and have celebrated it. And as I said, you are always welcome here. And thank you for spreading the good word about the Jim Masters Show live series, as you've done for so many people. Really, like a real supporter and just lover of what we're doing, and that's duly noted and very appreciated. And that's why I said, I want to have him back on, catch us up on everything, update us. Let's celebrate life and music, and just continue to have a good time. And that's what it's all about. And I think we accomplished that, didn't we, my friend?
I think so. And you're really doing positive work too. There's so much negative stuff going on. Most of what we're in the news, and even what's true right now, no one knows what's real. So much dissension and dissonance, that you're celebrating what matters. Music and art, and people doing good work. And so, and anytime someone I know goes on your show, they have a great time. They love it. You really make people happy. So I'm happy to be part of the gang. I want to be a Loverty.
The Loverties. That's right. Exactly. The Loverty. You're part of the Loverty family here at the Jim Masters Show live series.
So thanks for doing it.
The pleasure is all mine. Thanks for 2 hours and 10 minutes of great conversation and music and so much more, and laughs, just exactly the way we would like to do it, Paul. And we'll have you back again. And truly, I hope you enjoy the time with me as much as I absolutely have with you.
Had great fun, great time. Thank you so much, Jim.
You be well. You going to make a sandwich now?
Not a sandwich, but I think I might have more. It's dinner time.
Oh, that's right. It's dinner.
Yeah.
Well, you certainly sang for your supper. So, Paul, truly,
good to see you, buddy.
Gentlemen,
maybe I'll see you in person one of these days. You come to this coast?
Absolutely.
Or
right.
somewhere in the middle. All right.
When you're at the East Coast, or I'm visiting on the West. You're a gem of a guy, truly. A real gentleman, a cool guy, and a fave. And we really appreciate you being here. And all of our, our viewers watching around the world, sending their love. And
there's Jane. It's sweet how that happens. I love when you do that. Jane's from Sweden. I remember that.
Yes, absolutely.
Like if I get someone from Encino watching, it's a big deal. But Sweden,
Encino, right?
Sweden is more exciting.
Sweden, Chile, we have Japan, we have Ireland, Italy, Switzerland, many in Canada, of course, the United States. Let's see.
It's a
Iceland, Austria, Australia, New Zealand. We have viewers that come from all around the world. Yeah, it's amazing how that has happened.
Because you always give them a good show. They know they're going to get good stuff. Yeah.
That's it.
Right
Still waiting for the Arctic Circle.
Yeah.
A little nippy.
Spasibo.
Right. The Wi-Fi might not be as strong up there at the Arctic Circle. My friend, we'll chat again.
I know poquito Russian. Yeah.
You do?
I said I know poquito Russian. I do. I know spasibo. Do svidanya. That's about it.
Sayonara.
That's good too.
Sláinte. That's the Irish.
So are you done working? Or are you going to go to work after this? You got more work to do tonight?
Let's see. Well, right now it's 20 after 9 Eastern time. So
Right.
it's dinner time, past dinner time.
Good.
Yes, and I will be, I got a long day tomorrow on the air, but yeah, good stuff,
Cool. Well, I'll see you again soon, I hope.
You shall, my friend. Paul Zollo here on the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Celebrity Talk Show Series. He played for us. He sang for us. He's entertained us here on the show. And gang, if you thoroughly enjoyed what we are doing here, we encourage you to like and share, subscribe, and leave a comment for us here on the Jim Masters Show Live. That helps us grow. Leave a comment on the YouTube channel as well, Jim Masters TV. Share the episode. Give us a like, a thumbs up like. We would absolutely love that. It takes a village for sure. Be well, my friend. We will see you again soon.
Bye, Jim. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Paul.
Adios.
Cheers. Paul Zollo, acclaimed singer, songwriter, musician, and author, and lover of music and celebrator of music, joining us here on the Jim Masters Show Live series. Hope you guys did enjoy this. And if you did, again, we thank you so much for watching. And don't forget to like, give us a thumbs up, like, share, leave a comment for us, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. That means the world to us. And thanks to everybody who has done that, the thousands of folks who like and comment, subscribe, and we really appreciate that. It helps us continue to grow and expand. I am your host, Jim Masters, thanking you for your time, this time till next time. This was Paul's return visit here. He'll be back. And he's a big supporter, again, of our series. He's sent a lot of wonderful folks our way as well. We love him for that. Thank you very much. Yeah, 3:20 a.m., right? Hey, if you like what we're doing, there are ways to support us. Super chat, super emoji, super stickers. And it's 2:22 a.m. in the UK. You are a Lovity super fan as well, Lisa Barrett. And we love when you're here and commenting as well. And of course, we love our friends in Great Britain. Yes, we have family ties to Great Britain as well. Masters is a British name. And love it. Good stuff. You guys are well. You guys are very, very nice to be here and to spend 2 hours with us. And we hope you're well. And good stuff. Thank you very, very much for all these comments from all around the world. And we're very interactive. And boy, do we have lots of great guests coming up throughout the week. And if you've ever missed any of the episodes, if you want to see the first episode Paul was on, just look at our YouTube channel. There's almost 1,000 episodes so far in 3.5 years' time of doing this series. And they're all here for you to binge watch, enjoy, and to celebrate right here on the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Celebrity Talk Show Series. Thanks for being with us, gang. We love having all of you here on the show. It means the world to us. And stay tuned. Stick with us. If this was your first time watching the Jim Masters Show Live series, we welcome you. You're now part of the family. Interact with us. Say hi. Drop us a note. You can find me on all the social media at Jim Masters TV on Facebook and Twitter, now called X. And of course, Instagram. We're active on all of those platforms. And of course, our YouTube channel where we house the series is Jim Masters TV. Thank you, Kathleen. And thank you, Jane, and everybody here. For the newbies who joined us for the first time, discovered our show for the first time, welcome. And for those of you who are with us all the time, we thank you so very, very much. And again, don't forget to give us a like, comment, share, subscribe. We would absolutely love that. That means the world to us here at the Jim Masters Show Live series. All right, we're going to scoot out. It's dinner time for us. Thanks for stopping by. One more time, we thank our buddy, our friend, a real cool guy and a dear friend, acclaimed singer, songwriter, author, Paul Zollo from California. If you watch the first part of this episode, you'll know what I'm talking about when I say California. And cool stuff. We had a good time talking about some veterans, music icons, Tom Petty and Ringo Starr and Bob Dylan, and so many others, and with Paul Zollo here on the Jim Master Show Live. We'll see you on the next episode. We'll be back tomorrow, and we hope you are here as well. Thanks for being with us. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks for the comments, cards. Don't forget to subscribe, all the rest. And again, you can do super chat, super emoji, super stickers in the chat room when the shows are live, or you can do super thanks, which is a heart icon, which is on all the episodes on our YouTube channel. You see all the episodes, a little heart icon. Some people ask, how do I support what you're doing? And all those hours, thousands of hours of content and hundreds of guests. You can do it that way as well. However you do it, we really appreciate it. Be well, gang. I'm Jim Masters, thanking you for your time this time. Till next time, right here in Lovely Hall at the Jim Masters Show. Be well. Love you all. Cheers.